Hi everybody, welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 56. I am your host. With me, as always, my co-host and teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to 66.
That is not hello.
Hi.
Oh, for order 66?
Yeah, and then
Yeah. We will be getting there shortly.
I'm allowed to say that.
Well, if you are a new listener, welcome. Returning listeners, welcome back. We got a whole bunch of wrestling to talk about again today.
Yeah, with the debut of AEW Rampage.
We did actually throw in a brief little bit of coverage of Rampage.
Results and kind of quick thoughts.
Yep.
Not really like, if you're looking for like match coverage of that, you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah, we're just going to briefly talk about that a little bit later.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on in life. We got plans tonight to go make some pizzas. Our friends have an outdoor pizza oven, so we'll be doing some pizzas, which sounds pretty fun. Slash whatever. What else is new with you?
We finished up the Bad Batch. That finale was yesterday.
Bad Batch is over with until whenever the next season starts. How did you like the finale?
It was decent. The part 1 finale was better.
Yeah.
Like much better.
Yeah.
They kind of left it open for Crosshair, which that's not good because I need to know.
So this is the most recent Star Wars animated series that we've been sort of keeping up with on Disney.
Yeah.
So it's come to the end of its first season run.
Yeah.
I don't know what's new with me. Nothing really.
I started watching. There's a new Marvel show on Wednesday.
What was that?
What If?
What is that? Is it like a? Well,
pretty self-explanatory. It's like it's like a.
What If is not self-explanatory. There's a million things that could come out of that.
It's like a what if show, like alternate.
Oh, alternate stuff.
Like.
So is it actually put out by Disney or is it somebody else doing it?
No, it's actually Disney.
Oh, okay.
And it's like the first episode was because in first Captain America, he gets the super soldier serum and that's how he becomes Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Then the alternate one is he gets shot by the guy who blows up the place after.
Yep.
And so then Peggy Carter, who's the British agent in the U.S. military, takes his place and then she's Captain Britain.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's the whole premise of this is every week they just do a what if this happened
The next
instead?
one is T'Challa as Star-Lord, and you know Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Not really, but kind of, I guess.
Remember the funny ones? The good ones?
Yeah, I don't know. None of them are good.
He's the main guy, and
Sorry.
so T'Challa's Black Panther, and they're doing like if he was Star-Lord, which is dumb, because obviously it's Chris Pratt.
Right. I don't know. I'm aware that Chris Pratt exists. I don't quite know who he is, but you know me.
He was on Parks and Rec.
I don't know much about celebrity. Oh, that's the guy from Parks and Rec.
Yes.
I do know who that is. Then.
Yes.
I forgot his last name was Pratt. Yeah. There's so many famous Chris's right
Chris
now.
Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans,
right. Exactly.
Chris Pratt.
So Grandma and Grandpa stopped by my parents yesterday for some hanging out time and some dinner. So that was good. Got some barbecue from a local place that was nice. So it was always nice to see them. Bless you. I don't know what else. Anything else you want to chat before we move into wrestling? I feel like it's going to be a long episode, so if you want to just transition into some...
No, nothing actually comes to mind. So
all right. Good. Well, I think most people are here to listen to us talk about wrestling and not so much our ever exciting lives. So why don't we move into that by looking at our first segment, which is always news and rumors. So for ratings, which is where we always start.
Oh yeah, what are you gonna do? Rampage ratings?
I don't think they were up yet this morning.
Right,
actually, I'll check at some point while you're chatting and see if they were there yet.
It'll probably be like the same scenario. Remember when Dynamite was basically in the same slot?
Yeah. So it might be. Yeah, it might be similar to those numbers.
It'll probably be that scenario.
But I could not find it this morning. But I did find for Dynamite and NXT, obviously. So Wednesday's live edition of AEW Dynamite drew 979,000 viewers on TNT, so down 11.2% from last week, and a 0.35 in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic, which is down 24%. So this marks the end of a 4-week streak at more than 1 million viewers per episode for them. I mean, pretty close. 979 is pretty close to 1 million. It was the lowest viewership since July 7th, which was the first show that they moved back on the road. So ratings down just over 10%, but still close to that million mark, which I think they'll be pretty happy with. So Tuesday's NXT was the more interesting one, right? Because they're coming off of 2 weeks on Sci-Fi where their ratings were pretty bad.
Yes.
So it's nice to see back in their normal slot, normal channel. They drew 751,000 viewers on USA this week, which is up 44.42%, which sounds impressive, but it's just largely due to the fact that they were down so much from being on a different station. And a 0.19 in the 18 to 49 demographic, up 90% again. They were at like record lows the last 2 weeks, right? So it's really nice to see that they're back and that they did draw the most viewers since they've had on them since May 4th. So it's good to see them pulling decent numbers again, because they did suffer greatly moving for those 2 weeks onto Sci-Fi.
Right.
I did not do Impact ratings this week, so anything you want to discuss, go ahead.
So I found like a thing that was real reason behind WWE releases, and it was like, it's something like they just don't see the people making it to the main roster.
Right.
Like, which some of them, I guess, like poor Tyler Rust, but like Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was going main roster bound. Like, he's big. They probably like him. I don't think he's that old, and he was dark matching a lot.
It's in one of my notes somewhere for news, was that basically, actually I can talk about it right here. I'll transition off yours if you want. So I had some more details on the releases too. Basically the feeling was that when NXT launched, it was supposed to be a developmental project and get talent ready for Raw or SmackDown, but Vince feels the brand is filled with like people in the 5'8" range and that are over 30 years old, and with a few exceptions, he doesn't think these people are going to be main roster stars. So there's this mindset that there's a need for bigger people and more characters. So Meltzer was told by a source that there's a feeling at NXT that they would sign an independent talent. If they were to, right, they would first have to beat the independent out of them when it came to their working style. So their theory is...
And then, like, beat the NXT out of them when they go up.
So here's a little story that relates to this. So this is like your grandfather, your mother's father, when he applied for a Tim Hortons, where if you're not a Canadian person, it's a huge chain of coffee shops in Canada. Canadians are insane for coffee, and Tim Hortons is like...
Canada?
There's a few in the United States, but not as widespread. Like, there's several in every town in Canada. So anyways.
We have, like, there's in Newmarket, which is, like, not too far from us. There's, like, 2 right across the street from each other.
Yes. So my father-in-law was applying to get a Tim Hortons, and one of the reasons...
Does he still have it? He does, right?
He did have one for a little bit, but previously, anyways, when he was trying to get one, he was denied a franchise because... he had previous experience. He had used to run some donut shops of his own called Mr. Donut. So it's like they wanted a blank slate. They didn't want somebody who had experience making donuts. They wanted somebody that didn't, so that they could train them. So I feel like this is what Vince is saying, right? They would rather take some impressive looking football player or bodybuilder and teach him the quote unquote WWE style than get a talented independent wrestler and be like, that's not the style we want anyways, so we have to retrain them, you know what I mean? They already know how to wrestle, but it's not the wrestling we want. So that's kind of what it feels like, where Tim Hortons was like, we get that you've made donuts before, but you didn't run it the way we want it run. We would rather a blank slate than somebody who already has ideas on how to do this. Right? So unfortunately, it's this idea that they had to beat the independent out of them. Meltzer also reported that Bronson Reed got tryout matches. McMahon decided against using him on the main roster, and since he wasn't going to be a main roster guy, Vince was basically like, there's no point in keeping him, and that it was said that mentality was basically the reason behind the other cuts of like Bobby Fish, Mercedes Martinez, and Tyler Rust.
I know NXT was supposed to be developmental, but I kind of like it as not really being that anymore.
Like, I think it can be a little bit in between, right? You have some established people at the top, and then...
Because if it's all developmental, like, you have, like, remember there used to be, like, the times where, like, just all the top guys are gone, and then, like, it's like you have to... So then I think you have to have a good balance of guys who are staying there, like Cole and Gargano, and then guys who are going up, right?
They do.
Like,
but, so, I mean, it's a shame that Vince has, like, this really limited view of what a star can be, right? Because he's always been a body guy. He wants to be as big as possible. He wants his stars to be as big as possible. But all that's going to guarantee is he's never going to find the next Darby Allin, right? The next Adam Cole, the next Johnny Gargano, because he's just immediately going to look at them and eliminate them because they're too small. But on the flip side, the good news for us, I think, it leaves that type of talent, which is the talent we prefer, just talented in-ring competitors, regardless of what they look like. They're going to go to other promotions that we prefer anyways, probably most notably AEW, right? So at the end of the day, it means probably the talent I want to see are going to go to companies I prefer anyways. It just sucks that Vince's attitude is, you're not big, so people don't want to watch you, right? And maybe like, that's true.
You think he would be watching AEW and see, like, oh, they're doing this, maybe we should try that. But, like, he's still sticking to his philosophies despite another big company
being very successful,
who isn't fixed on this stupid ideology.
Because none of the
succeeding.
elite are big dudes, right? Like even Omega's like he's about like Seth Rollins-y size, I guess, but he's not humongous.
Right.
So
and
it's
Seth
just
Rollins
he's
is probably like the only guy I can
he's
think of.
projecting
Really, that's like...
his own views onto everything else. He likes big muscular bodybuilder types, so that is what we should have, and that's unfortunate.
And I was reading a thing about like there's some sort of backstage thing, and like Triple H is kind of in the middle of that, and like there are people like trying to undermine him or whatever.
Apparently Triple H and Shawn Michaels had nothing to do with the releases and didn't even know they were happening until what I read was Laurinaitis was contacting talent, and that's when...
Yeah, I found it like because Triple H was supposed to be like, he's kind of like, or he was kind of like the heir to the thing, and then now like I don't know, I was reading a bunch about a thing, and like there are people trying to undermine him, like worried about their own spots,
right?
And, like, I don't know.
I'm sure.
I'm looking at it now, but it's hard to explain. But yeah.
What other news do you have? Sorry, I just jumped in because I had one related to you.
So an update on 205 Live.
It exists. There's the update.
205 Live to feature wrestlers over 205 pounds. So
makes total sense.
Yeah.
Right, like even the cruiserweight division, they're like, nah, we're gonna fill it with big dudes.
Right. You've had like you had Gacy versus Briggs last night. You've had Odyssey Jones competing on there regularly. Right. Like.
So
it's really
I mean,
weird.
It comes up in our NXT review today at some point probably, but this Odyssey Jones, like he's the exact guy that I feel like we're going to get a lot of because he
kind of sucks. So that's
big.
Sucks.
He's got a bit of charisma. He's not good in the ring. I can say that so far. I mean, he's not a wrestler. He hasn't wrestled for super long, I don't think. But I think that's the type of people, because he has a look and he's got some charisma and he's outgoing.
And he's got zero experience.
Those are the people we're going to get a lot of, unfortunately. So I had one where it looks like Ric Flair appears to be headed to AEW. According to Dave Meltzer, well, nothing has been announced, he said. The word going around is that it seems to be a lock. Ric Flair will be headed there when he is legally able to.
I don't see any benefit from that.
Well, wait for this. Booker T noted on his podcast that he's under the impression that Flair wants one more run. So wrestling.
I also saw that.
Wrestling Ric Flair, no thank you. So I'm not sure I want him in either capacity, to be honest. Definitely not for one more run. I do not need to see Ric Flair wrestle. And honestly, I don't know if people remember, but go back to some of his like not too distant promos in WWE. He has some like rambling, incoherent messes of promos. So I'm not even super confident that he can be like a mouthpiece for somebody. Like there's obviously talk of like he's going to come in and work with Andrade because it's his son-in-law or whatever. But I'm not super confident that he can be a reliable talker at this point.
I don't see any good use for him in this.
Outside of the name recognition, right? You just want to say that we have Ric Flair on our roster. So maybe there's some value in that, but I'm not sure.
I don't think that's necessary. They've already got people for that. They already took Stupid Sting. They have Christian Cage, Chris Jericho.
Well, this is more like thinking about Arn Anderson and Jake the Snake Roberts and Taz and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have them too. They're pretty much useless.
I don't think we need him there, but I mean, he is a huge name, one of the all-time greats, so I'm sure he will end up there, but I'm not really looking forward to it.
We had a new Intercontinental Champion crowned on SmackDown, with Shinsuke Nakamura becoming a 2-time champion, defeating Apollo Crews.
I was just going to say, who did he win it from? Because I'd honestly forgotten.
They've done a really terrible job with Apollo Crews.
Has he even been around? Like, because I listened to...
He's been essentially an afterthought.
I keep up with things, and I feel like he's been barely...
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
included.
I'm keeping up with it, but he's really been under the radar.
Right, he has.
So the Intercontinental title, it's one of those dark periods for the title.
Hopefully Shinsuke can revive it, because he's cool.
Hopefully, this is his first babyface title run on the main roster.
Right.
Now that you think about it.
Crazy.
Like, he's a 2-time U.S. champion, and he was Intercontinental champion, all under his heel run.
But he got famous somewhere else, so you can't possibly
So hopefully
treat
this
him.
leads to some good things finally for him, because
that would be great.
He deserves it.
He's cool.
But, yeah.
Looks like Kenny Omega and Don Callis are done with Impact Wrestling, at least for the time being.
That Kenny's out.
Not to spoil anything, but it's going to come up anyways. So this, basically, Christian Cage will obviously be representing AEW with the Impact title. So following Rampage, Scott D'Amore actually was on Twitter, posted a photo of Cage, indicated that Callis and Omega are done with the company. I mean, maybe not forever, but at least as far as stuff in the recent future will be not Omega and Callis, which is a bit of a hit, right? Because their segments are always pretty quality on Impact. You can count on them to be at a certain level, right? Especially Callis on the mic. So
yeah, and I
that's
think
a bit of a
it
loss.
should have been taken back by one of their guys.
I'm sure it will be, just not yet. But
no,
we'll
but
see.
like someone should be in Omega. I think it would have been great for an Impact guy to defeat this like quote unquote untouchable wrestling god.
Yep.
Instead of old man Christian Cage.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that when we talk about Rampage, I guess. Anything else from you? I only have one more.
We've got an exciting addition to SummerSlam.
What's that?
Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal.
Is it some sort of sword match? Because isn't he been like, from what I understand, McIntyre's gimmick is basically like he might cut your head off with a sword, so be careful. Like, possible murder is his gimmick right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of stupid.
It's too bad, man, because he was like a hero of early pandemic, right? During No Crowd era,
they
he
finally
was terrific.
gave him his moment at the exact wrong time.
And now he's kind of ridiculous, but anyways.
He's just there.
My last news item might lead to the end of the way, I guess, which we're not a big fan of. So Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano announced on Thursday that they are expecting their first child in February of 2022. And LeRae made a little comment on her role with NXT going forward. She said, "I don't plan on being away until I absolutely have to. Indie clearly needs me, so sort of staying kayfabe a little bit. And I want to be there for my locker room of girls as long as I possibly can. However, I do have to take a step back from my favorite part of this business for a while, physically wrestling, obviously." So
I just want Gargano to turn babyface.
Congratulations to them. And
maybe they could use him becoming a father as an excuse.
To end the way, but I mean hopefully it's over before then, because that's not until February. So.
No, I mean like to turn him babyface, because like he's a new look on life.
He's a new dad, yeah. So anyways,
it's happened to Miz, I think.
That's going to obviously mean LeRae is out of action for a while, but good for them.
Okay.
And I have no more news, so it's all you at this point.
WWE's reportedly planning hold King of the Ring finals internationally.
Yep, won't be watching that. Of course, it's in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
So it does not exist for me, will not watch.
With TV shows leading up to the shows hosting the other rounds.
Amazing.
Like the other rounds would be on TV.
Yeah.
I would almost watch it just to torture myself.
I won't watch it just on principle, but I probably won't watch any of that tournament if it's on main roster anyways, right? So
that's true.
I won't see any of it.
I kind of want
to
watch
with that.
The show just to pain myself.
Well, that you will be doing on your own, because I don't have an interest in it. You can just tell me how it is if you want. Do you have any other news items?
I got an updated card for the New Japan show that I think it's called
see it, but I didn't look at the card, so go ahead, hit me.
We got Archer versus Tanahashi for the U.S. title.
Interesting.
Yeah. Switchblade versus David Finlay for the never openweight title.
Right, which they've been building that sort of on Impact the last few weeks.
Tomohiro Ishii versus Moose.
That could be really fun too. I really love Ishii.
Leo Rush, Brody King, Chris Dickinson, Fred Yehai, and you somebody else versus Tom Lawler, J.R. Kratos, Danny Limelight, Jorel Nelson, and Royce Isaacs.
Oh, Royce Isaacs, another guy
I guess
I've
Leo
seen
Rush is unretiring, I guess.
How many times has he retired in the last?
I don't even know what the situation. I don't even care.
He retires and unretires regularly. That's why it's really hard. Not just him, any wrestling retirements. I'm just like, okay,
yeah,
bud.
I don't care about the Cody
See you
thing
in a couple months.
Juice Robinson versus Hikuleo. John Moxley and a mystery partner versus your favorite, the Good Brothers.
Hey, great.
Fred Rosser, a.k.a. Darren Young.
Yep.
Rocky Romero and Wheeler Yuta versus TJP, Clark Connors, and Ren Narita. Carl Fredericks versus Alec Coughlin.
Coughlin, yeah. Oh, they're from New Japan Strong. I've seen both of them.
Kevin Knight, the DKC, and Adrian Quest versus Bateman, Mysterioso, and Barrett Brown.
So funny.
That's a dark match, actually.
It's just a combination of all of the federations I watch. You've got like ROH, New Japan, like all mixing together. It's funny. And like New Japan Strong, New Japan Proper. It's all people I see all over the place mixing in together. So that's kind of cool. Anything else for news?
No.
All right, well, that's going to bring us into talking about our first of the weekly wrestling shows we look at, and that is taking a look at this week's NXT. All right, so the show starts this week with a recap of last week's show, highlighting the Cross Samoa Joe situation before previewing tonight's show, where Ilya Dragunov will be making an appearance, and we're going to get Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole face-to-face, as well as Raquel Gonzalez getting her chance to respond to Dakota Kai, who turned on her and attacked her last week. Vic Joseph then lets us know that Ember Moon is not cleared to compete in her match. She was scheduled.
Which I actually found out that was true.
I figured it would be, or they wouldn't have made such a switch. Because she was supposed to face Saray, I guess, in the opening match this week. She has since been replaced by Dakota Kai, who will face Saray in the first match. So Dakota Kai comes to the ring, briefly speaks to Raquel Gonzalez. She says she hopes Gonzalez is watching tonight because she's about to defeat the undefeated Saray and prove she's no one's sidekick, because we are looking at the next NXT Women's Champion. A nice little continuation of what she said last week, I thought, right? Like a decent little promo before the match.
And it's probably right.
You think so? She is no one's sidebook. You think she's winning the championship?
She should.
Yeah, she should. I hope she does. I'm not sure if she will or not. But so we do get Dakota Kai versus Saray. And Kai is looking for that all-important WWE momentum heading into her title match with Raquel, right? Gotta have that momentum.
She doesn't have it. I don't think she'll win.
And Saray is looking for a win against a quality opponent, as she has largely faced enhancement talent so far and had just sort of quick dominating wins so far.
She needs some momentum to get moving
She
up
needs
in
some
the
momentum
rankings.
to move up the card. That's correct. It's all about momentum, folks.
Yes.
WWE loves that. So we get holds and counters to start until Dakota Kai pulls Saray head first to the mat, sort of, I guess, embracing a bit more of heel offense in this match now. Mm-hmm. Springboard arm drag by Saray and a body slam. Submission is escaped by Kai. She kicks Saray in the back. There's a bit of awkwardness. Kai decides to choke Saray in the ropes. I'm not sure there was a miscommunication or something, but she just sort of improvs, I think, a choke in the ropes there. Suplex by Dakota Kai, but Saray bridges out. There's a deep single leg crab by Saray, but a rope break by Kai. Saray then targets Kai's lower back with kicks and stomps. We get a bridging suplex by Saray for 2, a German suplex by Saray and a double stomp to the stomach, a bridging German by Saray for a 2 count, a running boot by Kai to Saray seated in the corner. There's a strike exchange, a scorpion kick by Kai. Saray follows her to the ropes with a drop kick and then hits that. It looked nasty here. The running drop kick to Kai seated against the ropes that she hits looked super vicious this week.
I saw like a thing where they put it in slow-mo.
Oh, the one specifically to Kai?
Yeah.
It looked good, man. I don't know, in slow-mo must have looked good as well, but it looked pretty vicious. Kai avoids a third drop kick, kicks Saray, and we're shown that sort of in a split screen moment that Raquel Gonzalez is arriving at the CWC out in the parking lot. That's not safe. I hope she's taking precautions.
I don't even think she was carrying her title. Like,
she did have a suitcase, didn't she, though, I think?
I don't think so.
No, neither?
She
Weird.
didn't have anything. She's pretty screwed. She didn't even pull up in the car.
She's asking for trouble at this point.
She's asking for an attack.
Spinning kicks by Saray, and as she runs to the opposite corner to set up her next move, Kai runs in with a kick to the head, and that earns Kai the pinfall victory here. She's about to continue the attack on Saray after the match when Gonzalez chases her away, grabs the mic, and heads to the ring. Gonzalez says that Kai will never be on top and will never have the title. Gonzalez says she is going to tear Kai apart at TakeOver 36. What did you think of the match and the little bit afterwards?
I thought it was a good opener. I prefer getting this to Moon and Saray. But I think both of them have had better matches. I was probably expecting a little better, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
This is still good, though. Kai winning with the corner kick that she used when she turned on Gonzalez kind of feels like pushing for a new finisher.
Yeah.
It does work with the whole team kick thing, and Sami Zayn has basically the same move.
Yes.
But I like the GTK or the chiropractor better.
Yeah, I was surprised that this was the finisher on Saray as well.
It was still fine, and Gon's promo was fine, but nothing super
amazing.
special.
Do you think that if Ember Moon were in, was Moon supposed to go over Saray? That's what I was wondering, right? Like, did they switch? Because when you sub Kai in, she can't really lose right now, right? So was Ember Moon supposed to win too?
Because it does really feel weird that Saray's losing already.
Right.
I don't think Ember Moon would have any reason to beat Saray.
It's basically Saray's first legit opponent or second legit opponent, and she loses clean, sort of. So I don't know what if they had to make this substitution and then switch the booking on the fly. I'm not sure. It felt a bit strange, but
I feel like Saray was maybe you could have had Saray win like Raquel does.
That is true. That WWE style distraction roll up or something.
I feel like that would be actually kind of a
good time to use that.
Good time to use that, yeah.
Right. I ended up enjoying this match by the end. Something seemed a bit off to me at first, but things picked up near the finish of this. I thought Saray looked good. in a match that wasn't against enhancement talent, so that's what we kind of needed to see. And Kai got to pick up a quality win before she gets her title shot. I thought it was a good opener, and I think Dakota Kai just continues to impress me. I know I'm a big fan of Dakota Kai, but she is awesome, I think. We then get a recap of the fantastic Love Her or Lose Her match that Gargano won in the main event last week. But Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis still made out after the match, and Wade Barrett was basically disgusted as he's playing the heel commentator at this point, embracing it.
I agree with him for like the first time in my entire life.
We then cut to Indy Hartwell getting ready for...
With this segment, or segments taking prominence in the show,
yes,
I am very happy that Beth Phoenix is absent.
Right. Yeah,
I feel like that would annoy me to the point where I would just leave.
It would have added another layer of annoyance, I think. So we cut to Indy getting ready for her first date with Dexter Lumis. As seems to be the case now, we're going to get for sure 3-way segments, right? Every single episode. Or
like a 3-part segment.
Yep, every episode of NXT right now, which is not my favorite, but anyways. So first date, Indy's putting on her makeup. We see that Johnny and Candice LeRae at the kitchen table, and they're sort of venting to each other about Indy. And Austin Theory, who they say basically has run away. They don't want Indy to run away like Austin has. Gargano says they need to make this work for the family before Lumis rings the doorbell.
So are they trying to give him a chance then? Because I thought the whole point was that Gargano won, and so then...
So the stipulation was meaningless. We talked about it last week.
Literally meaningless.
She made it with him anyways. They have to give him a chance.
No, but see, that kind of made sense because that would be like, she's leaving the way. Because, so then it kind of meant something. But now it feels like it does not mean anything at all.
Right.
Whatsoever.
So the stipulation was completely pointless.
I don't know if we got to, but Candice said something like, do you have protection? And she was like, I'm a forward tag team. I don't need protection. Which I thought that's kind of funny because that's obviously not what Candice meant.
There's the odd funny line in these for sure. It's just there's so much of it that I have to look for something funny. So Lumis rings the doorbell. Gargano lets him in, right? Even though he won the match, and this isn't supposed to be just what you're saying, right? This isn't supposed to be happening. One thing that amused me was as soon as Lumis is on the screen, there's like ominous music playing in the background, right? Which I thought was kind of funny. Mm-hmm. Lumis has brought flowers, but Gargano clearly isn't happy about it. Candice is then in with Indy, asking Indy if she has protection, like you said. Indy flexes her muscles, says she's the former NXT Women's Champion, so she doesn't need protection. It was kind of
champion.
Like she's playing the naive kid, right? So it was kind of funny. Gargano is then like questioning Lumis on his intentions for Indy. And obviously Lumis is just standing there not talking, right? So this is the humor from this.
I guess that's his character, but one, not funny. Two, it kind of just it's kind of stupid.
It's all just like mildly amusing, but nothing like
I don't even call it mildly amusing because it's like, oh, ha ha ha, he doesn't talk.
And Gargano talks all the time, and aren't they an odd couple together, right?
Yeah, it's like, I swear to God, they become a tag team, I'm going to be so mad.
Oh, no, please. Why would you put that into the universe? Because now that's going to happen for sure.
Because they obviously listen to the pod, right?
For sure. Triple H sits down. Paul Levesque just sits down. FNS, oh, good, their newest episode's up.
Lumis and Gargano in a tag team.
Nobody interrupt me. I'll be in my office for a couple hours listening to this pure gold.
And it's like, if you're indie, you're going to go on a date with a guy who does not speak ever.
Right.
Like, literally has never spoken.
Right.
At all.
So they do head out on their date while Gargano and LeRae plan to follow them in their car.
I'll give you 10 seconds to guess what happens. Right. It's pretty obvious. If you watch, like, any show ever, you'll know what happens.
And I think it knows it's cheesy and it's embracing the cheesiness. It's just not working for me. Like, I don't think that they think this is serious or whatever, obviously, but the tone of it just doesn't entertain me. Anyways, you want to talk about the segment? Go ahead.
I groaned the second they said we were getting this, so that's a great start. Like, literally, they're like, index first day. I'm like, ah.
I know. And I kind of eye roll at this point.
Yeah. That was basically my reaction. I thought it was okay at best, I guess, and imagine it'll get worse as we descend into garbage.
Because we're trained now. We know it's not one segment. We're getting two more in a one.
Yeah,
no matter
and
what.
I feel like it's like the segment's in the dumpster and it's just going to sink
This was
down.
the peak. It's at the top of the dumpster. It's about to sink down.
They all performed well except for Lumis, who literally did nothing. So I can't say he did good at all. He just does nothing.
He just sits there,
Literally, that's not even me being mean. He literally does nothing. I literally called in another TV trope was present on NXT. I called like maybe 10 seconds before it happened. with the concerned parents following the kid and the person they don't like / aren't sure about on their date. They're gonna spy on them throughout the date.
Absolutely.
Use disguises. Like, I don't mind the 3-part format that much, but it's feeling a little too frequent for me.
I'm already there. I've been there for a few weeks on that. So they did keep this
It's like every week or every other week.
Despite my description, this was actually a pretty short segment. I didn't hate it, but again, this angle isn't for me.
I didn't like it
So
either.
the ominous music with Loomis was kind of funny. This is basically like the plot line from every 80s and 90s sitcom, which I guess means I should like it because it's like harkening back to my childhood and whatnot, with the teenage daughter who's like, but I love him. You know what I mean? And the parents are like, he's no good.
This doesn't belong in wrestling.
Yeah, but
none of this belongs
exactly.
in wrestling.
That's part of it, right? The fact that these are all adults too and not an actual family, like, it makes it strange.
They're not an actual family. They're all grown people.
And I think that's supposed to be funny, but when it's been dragging on for months and months now, where it's like,
there are times when like Indy and Austin kind of as the kids
yes.
of this like fictional family, it works sometimes, but it's like when you go too far into it like this, that's when it gets annoying.
And at the end of the day, this is a 20-whatever-year-old woman going out on a date.
24-year-old with a 37-year-old guy.
And what's it of anyone's business?
Right, when it's like a little bits, like they're kind of naive or whatever, it's fine because like they are younger. But then like when you go too into it like this, it's like, how stupid are they? Like, is Indy like just
and they're
dumb?
supposed to be playing that for humor because they're aware that that's the case, but I don't think that's working, right? Like, it's still supposed to be, oh, it's funny because she is an adult, and it's not, but it's not
almost
funny.
Stupid.
I don't know.
Like,
so this was better than some way segments I've seen, but I still wouldn't say I enjoy it. So Hit Row are somewhere, I said. It looked like almost like in the back of a truck or like a transport
U-Haul?
truck or something, and there's a fire burning in a barrel. They mentioned how they were going to let things go with Legado del Fantasma, but Legado attacked them from behind, took Swerve's grill, disrespected them and their entire culture. So Swerve then pulls out a lucha mask and throws it in the fire as the group laughs. What did you think of this brief little segment?
I saw like a thing when I was looking at something talking about NXT. It's like so I thought this was good, and the feed's been fine so far. Nothing particularly different about this promo.
No,
but I still like their style.
That was very similar.
Like, the lines are because like, don't you think they were pretty heel here?
Yes,
I think they were even getting booed a bit from
and
the
that's
crowd.
our issue, right? We're not sure,
but because like I think we can both agree they've definitely been out of the two heel factions. They're going to be the cheered.
Yeah.
ones,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yes.
And so this was kind of a deterioration from that.
Right.
And I think also they should have burned Escobar's old mask.
Yes.
I think they should,
because we like both of these factions. We should in theory be really.
I don't really care because I do like them better as heels. So if they have to like, and I think that's fine. I feel like it is kind of realistic for two heel factions to fight because they're both like...
Or Hit Row's like that Shades of Grey. Maybe I don't know if they're positioned fully as heels at this point or not. Like, that's the problem. I don't know. And I want to know, but... And sometimes if they have
I do want to know at the same time, though. I don't really...
Sometimes it can affect live matches, too, because the crowd's not sure who they're supposed to be rooting for, you know what I mean? But anyways, I thought this was fine, same as you, like... It was short, and it continues the feud, and obviously the symbolism of burning the mask and whatever. I didn't think this was their best segment, but they still just look cool, and as a group, right? Their presentation is cool, even if the stuff they're doing isn't amazing. So Ilya Dragunov from NXT UK makes his way down to the ring. He says that he is not a man of big words, because where he came from, words didn't mean anything, but pain did. Dragunov has put his strength into his fists and not his mouth. Dragunov says he will witness chaos and rage, and unbeatable kingdom will fall when he ends Walter's title reign at TakeOver 36, becoming the NXT UK champion. He's about to continue this promo, but Pete Dunne's music interrupts, and out he comes. Dunne says before Dragunov gets ahead of himself, he owes Dunne a big thank you, because without Dunne traveling the world with the NXT UK title, putting that brand on the map, and carrying the entire continent on his back, then Dragunov wouldn't be competing against Walter at TakeOver, and he damn sure wouldn't be standing in front of the baddest man in NXT. Dunne says that, to be honest, if he would have stayed in the UK, he would have put Dragunov in his place a long time ago. Dragunov says he's here because he gave his all, not because of Dunne or anyone else. Dragunov goes on about how he will beat Walter, and that's something Dunne could never do. Dragunov says in 2 weeks, Sorry, that's in 2 weeks. But how about Dunn? Show how strong he is. How strong his fight. Sorry, his will to fight is tonight. Dunn promises after tonight Dragunov won't make it to TakeOver, and I am excited because a really cool match just got made. What did you think of this situation?
So I'm excited to get that match for sure. I thought Dragunov spoke well, but his promo material was a little bland, but I understand why, because they had to give him something decent, but they also have to make it easy to comprehend for viewers who don't watch NXT UK, which I think they did a good job of.
Yep, they're keeping it simple a bit.
Dunn was great as usual. I was very happy to see him come by himself, not with Holland and Lorcan. I'm also very happy to be getting Dunn versus Dragunov. That should be really good. Dunn will most likely lose, but this is a better placeholder for him than teaming with Oni Lorcan and Ridge Holland.
Yeah, I agree.
And them carrying a promo together kind of shows how far both of them have come. Like, I think that's a testament to the improvement.
Yeah, Dunn coming out alone, you're right, is a nice little bonus, I think, right? Because we're not loving him in his little group.
I hate Ridge Holland.
I would have never believed or found it hard to believe that Dragunov would be an effective babyface at any point just from seeing him, but he really has become one. And I thought Dunn, he continues to impress me with improved...
He's kind of almost becoming an all-rounder.
He is. I want to say his improved promo skills, but maybe he's just getting more chances. I don't know, but I'm obviously looking forward to this match right away because I love both of these guys.
For him.
To nitpick a little bit, I feel like this is a match that they could have built to a bit longer and not just quickly thrown it together on an episode, because this for me is a money match. It might not be for everyone.
Maybe and also if Dragunov does end up winning the title, they can for sure revisit this.
And this is obviously them. They need to introduce Dragunov in ring to a lot of the NXT audience probably.
So it's kind of smart, but like maybe they could have, this segment could have been last week. Then they could have put the match this week.
Right. And for me, this is just two guys that I wasn't sure would be able to carry a live promo.
No, I think we both did not really like Dragunov when he first came.
Nope. Now I love him.
I remember the first time he looked pretty good in that match he had against Balor at that Worlds Collide show. And then that Walter match, obviously that was awesome. And then he really worked on his character a lot after that Walter match. I think that was a really turning point for him.
And I think Walter contributes because just the beating that this big man lays on him kind of baby faces him,
right? And you would that's a realistic kind of mental breakdown angle that they did. And so Dragunov's really become like kind of a
I'm a big fan of Dragunov, man, right now.
I think he's much better in the ring too, and he's got somewhat of a character now, just besides being intense.
Yeah, so I like this segment, and it sets up close to a dream match for me, because I really like both of these guys.
I'm surprised they haven't faced off.
Yeah, me too, a little bit.
Both being in NXT UK. It's kind of funny, they actually teamed together in the build to the Walter match.
Although I think when Dunn was there, Dragunov was not a major player yet, and Dunn was, right? So...
And then by the time Dragunov was becoming a major player, like when he was going to challenge Walter, Dunn was like, he was like going to be a producer.
Yeah.
And then he was kind of on his way out.
Right.
Remember, they teamed against Walter and Wolf on UK before.
And Wolf.
Alexander Wolf.
Oh, wow. That takes me back. Forgot that name. So Mackenzie is backstage talking to LA Knight. Knight is sort of making fun of Grimes for being a failure on the golf course and in their match. He doesn't care what WWE Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase said last week. Grimes is a failure, and he goes on and says Grimes will see what it's like to win tonight when Knight wins the match for them. Knight forces Grimes to say Knight's catchphrase for him, and also forces Grimes to sort of put the belt onto Knight's shoulder before they walk off. Thoughts on this?
I don't know. I thought it was a fine promo. I liked them making Grimes say the catchphrase.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool, but nothing much else.
Yeah, between this story and the Way stuff, like for me, there's just too much what I would call light entertainment in the form of comedy, quote unquote, on these episodes, because we're basically getting 3 Way segments every week almost.
Or 3 Knight and Grimes.
And maybe a combination of both to some degree, like this week, right? So I don't mind a little bit of humor and stuff in my wrestling, but this is now going to be, 4 or 5 segments plus a match in one episode. It's a bit too much for me personally, but again, that's just me. It's not that it's necessarily bad. It's just not stuff that I gravitate to, especially not in the large doses we're getting on NXT lately. So I guess this was fine, but it's just more of the same stuff. Like, ha ha ha, he's the butler. He's making his life difficult. Like, okay, good. Moving on. So we do get LA Knight facing First round from the breakout tournament loser, right? Andre Chase, formerly known as Harlem Bravado, I believe. So we get Chase with some arm drags early before being dropped across the second rope. And then basically Knight hits his BFT finisher, which we learn is the blunt force trauma, for the win. $1 Million Man's music hits. He heads to the ring. Ted says that this has gone too far. He knows that Grimes is a man of his word, but he has a lot more for Grimes to do, and Grimes could be doing a lot more. Ted goes on about how he and the crowd, the universe, basically believe in Cameron Grimes. Knight asks Ted why he's out here, or if he's just trying to get punched in the face again. DiBiase says Knight needs to shut his mouth, and that Grimes can be whatever he wants to be. He just has to follow his heart. Grimes wants to be a champion, and Ted thinks that he can be. DiBiase says if Knight puts the title on the line, Grimes will become a champion. Knight initially says no. He's defeated Grimes twice, and Ted can quit feeding Grimes lies.
Wait, that's a good point.
That is a fair point. Knight proposes a third match at TakeOver 36. Yay. And if Knight wins, DiBiase becomes Knight's butler, but not Grimes. Grimes doesn't like this idea, obviously doesn't want to see DiBiase in any sort of distress, but DiBiase says he's a gambling man and his money is on Grimes, and he's got a lot of money. DiBiase finishes up by saying that Knight is on, and we have agreed to this, but you asked a good question, like what? So if Grimes wins, is this whole thing over? Like all we know is if Knight wins, right, DiBiase's now the butler, right?
I think so. I thought I don't have anything to say about the match, but
because there wasn't one. It was basically just a way, like, and this. Sorry, I'm getting frustrated, but like you just had a backstage LA Knight and Grimes segment. Now you go to the ring and call it a match, but it's not a match. It's just another segment between these three, right? Bringing out DiBiase. So why don't you
just like put it as such?
So you're just ramming this stuff to. Anyways, go talk about it. Sorry.
Right, and like if you're Knight, wouldn't you negotiate for both of them to be your butlers after it?
Right, so there's sort of a stipulation, but it's like dangling a little bit, right? Like we're not sure what the other side is. Right, and then if you're
Grimes or DiBiase, why don't you negotiate for Grimes to get out of it if he wins?
Right, that should be the logical step, is that sure, we agree that if you win, DiBiase's your butler, but if Grimes wins, this whole thing's over, for the love of God. Sorry, I may have editorialized that.
I think DiBiase replaces Grimes, but if you're Knight, wouldn't you want to embarrass like both of them? Like
yes.
If you're this dirtbag heel, why would you settle for one?
Yeah.
And if you actually want to get stuff done with the butler, why would you choose an old man?
Right. So I feel bad for Chase losing in a squash as well. He lost in the tournament. Now he loses in like 10 seconds here, and I actually liked him in the tournament. So welcome to NXT for him. And great, we get a third match in a feud that I have little interest in. And again, more light comedy stuff starting to frustrate me, right? It's a large percentage of this show now. My hope Grimes wins. He basically gets the title, gives it back to DiBiase, and DiBiase and the title go away, and everyone can move on. That would be my fantasy booking of this. Get this title out of here, get this storyline over with, and move everybody on to something else. So we then get a vignette from Gigi Dolan, as she seems to be getting a little bit of attention here, right? They're maybe trying to elevate her status in NXT a little bit. Mm-hmm. So she addresses some of the other NXT women's division members, including Io Shirai, Ember Moon, Raquel Gonzalez, and Dakota Kai. Talks about how it's all about surviving and running through everyone else in the locker room. She says that it isn't just a 9 to 5 and tells the others to make sure they watch as she dominates. Dolan says she's not doing it alone either. And what did you think of this little
thought it was
vignette?
A decent promo. I can't really tell what the gimmick is, though.
I agree, but I kind of like this. I think she's got a cool look, and she sounded
I'm glad
good.
She's getting some attention.
Yep. She's teased the arrival or inclusion of someone else, right, to add a bit of intrigue, which is always nice. I think she has potential. I'm interested to see where they go with her, and it's coming up right away next, I guess, so we're going to find out, right? So a little underwhelming on who she brought help was. She's not coming alone because it's JC Jane.
That's a terrible name.
Been a jobber, a match or two?
Yeah, so and they were talking with Mandy Rose backstage once,
right.
Remember? And like Mandy's like, get out of here, camera guy.
So not exactly strong backup, but I guess they're starting to form some sort of alliance here. So it's Gigi Dolan with JC Jane versus Amari Miller.
Although I'm gonna stop caring about this real fast if Mandy Rose is involved.
I bet you she is. I think Dolan looks cool. She got a cool look. Her theme is very much a Marilyn Manson ripoff of a song. Or
it reminds me a lot of Decay's theme.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, just it doesn't have the lyrics, but it's like it's like that.
It's very Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Back and forth start with some holds and strikes. Dolan snaps Miller's arm across the bottom rope from the floor to take control. Forearms with wrist control and some sort of abdominal stretch into a bomb for the win. I wasn't quite sure. It was like an abdominal stretch bomb.
It was. You remember Paige Turner?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
It looked kind of
like a little different. So I thought this was a fine squash. I kind of liked the finisher. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was
me too.
Unique. Good for her for finally getting something, because she was in the Dusty Cup. Right. She was teaming with Cora Jade.
Oh boy, yeah, that's right.
Elena
that's right,
Black or whatever.
Yep.
And then she was jobbing out. I was like, why is she jobbing out? They just got her. But so she went from jobbing out to now she's the one, like, other people are jobbing out too, which I think that's a good transition. The theme reminded me of the Decay theme in Impact. And she herself kind of reminds me a lot like Paige.
Yeah, there's
pale skin tone, the colored hair. She sticks her tongue out a lot, which I know you love that.
That's gonna wear real thin.
Even the finisher is similar to the Paige turn, right? So a lot of similarities there, which that's fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just I know she's very similar to Paige.
Yep. I thought Dolan looked good. Her finisher's pretty cool. I thought JC Jane looked a bit awkward with Dolan. I'm hoping that they'll try to explain and provide some reason for their alliance.
They look really different, you know?
I thought this was a good reintroduction to Dolan, and she picked up a quick win, so nothing wrong with it, I didn't think.
For sure.
Back to the date, and the happy couple are at a restaurant, and Indy orders a ton of food, obviously, because she's the only one who can speak. So she orders a whole bunch of things, and it includes chicken fingers as one of the items she orders, and she goes on about how great the chicken fingers are.
That was dumb.
Indy then notices what sounds like Johnny Gargano talking through a walkie-talkie or a radio. And, of course, Candice is at a nearby table hiding behind a menu.
Oh, my God. It's so stupid.
So Indy, grabs the radio or whatever, tells Johnny she's on a date and to leave her alone. Indy walks back to her table to join Loomis, and Candice tells Johnny they have to abort their mission as she leaves the restaurant. Go ahead. My first note is Jack caught me letting out an audible sigh after this one, because I was like, and you looked over at me. So what'd you think?
So, I don't get why they have their walkie-talkies are so damn loud. Indy should not be able to hear them from across the room. This is lame and kind of stupid and also boring.
Other than that, we loved it.
Other than the whole segment that sucked, I liked it. Indy going on about chicken fingers is kind of weird too, and who freaking cares? Chicken fingers.
And I think they know that this is ridiculous, and that's even what they're going for.
But that's even worse.
Sometimes it doesn't bother me because it's like they know it's silly, but this isn't working for me at all.
I think I was right about these progressively getting worse, though. Say what you want about those Grimes and Knight segments, they were better than this crap.
And it's frustrating too because I think basically everybody involved in this is a really good performer. I say it every week. It's not
Except
them.
for Loomis.
It's just whoever's writing this is not anything I'm interested in, and we just get it multiple times almost every show now. So
this makes me want babyface Gargano more.
I'm tuning in. I'm tuning into a 2-hour show where I basically can count on being barely interested in 3 segments every week, and that's not the best feeling coming into shows. So I need this to end, selfishly for me. End it, please. NXT.
No, yes, I need this to end. I already have to watch Karrion Kross and
you do not often
people. So actually, he hasn't been all the time. It's actually been kind of nice. I don't need much. When I'm watching wrestling, I'm not really looking to suffer. So, yes, I want this to end.
I can't wait for the romantic comedy storyline that's going to be woven throughout this show. That's why I watch
can't
wrestling.
Wait for their next date. I hope they go to movies.
Well, maybe we'll get dates and then a proposal and then a wedding. We'll just get the whole... now I put that out in the universe. That's my fault. That's all my fault now.
And they get, engagement merch or whatever.
No.
I saw, I was watching a YouTube video, the commentary channels, they were about this couple vlog channel, or this couple channel on YouTube, and they had proposal merch.
So that'll be next. That's if that's a thing. So William Regal's in the ring. He's got several security guys.
I called this the Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly thingy, mediated by Regal.
He announces the undisputed finale for NXT TakeOver 36.
You can't dispute it.
I like that they're giving it a name since it's not a championship match or anything.
You can't dispute it. It is the finale. It's
Fair enough.
Undisputed.
It is Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole 3. He then asks the competitors to join him in the ring, and out comes Adam Cole with all of his usual fanfare, and then Kyle O'Reilly comes out after him. What is the
exciting stipulation?
Yes, Regal says that he's making their match.
Something new.
It will be contested under 2 out of 3 falls rules, with each man getting to pick a stipulation for the first 2 falls, and if it goes to the 3rd fall, Regal will pick that stipulation. So initially, I'm like, okay, they've definitely done this, but maybe they'll pick some interesting stipulations.
Yes, this is exactly what happened with Cole and Gargano. It's a 3 Stages of Hell match, but they refused to call it as such.
So at this point, you're like, okay, so they've done this pick your stipulations
thing.
I
wasn't thrilled, but at least they could pick interesting stipulations,
exactly,
right?
Exactly, at this point. So Kyle says he respects Regal, and that's why he is not currently attacking Cole. His loss at Great American Bash does not sit well with him, and the first fall will be a straight-up pinfall or submission. Kyle goes on about
last time.
How Cole is such an... I liked his reasoning here, that Cole is such a narcissist that a straight-up loss to Kyle will shatter his ego more than a steel chair ever would. So he's basically saying that would hurt you the most because you think you're so amazing that if I can beat you in a match with no stipulations, right, that's going to hurt you the most. I think it'd be funny if
Cole wins that.
And I think that makes sense. Cole says that O'Reilly is delusional and thinks he can actually beat Cole, so that straight-up first fall doesn't surprise him. Cole responds and goes on about how he's always proven he's better than Kyle at his job in every way possible. Cole talks about Kyle dropping him on the steel steps and says the second fall will be a street fight, and he doesn't care about Regal's stipulation because it won't make it to that. Which I said, wouldn't that be funny if he could actually beat Kyle 2-0 or vice versa?
For the first time where they do a 3 Stages of Hell match, it's just 2
Don't get
stages.
to the 3rd one. He says he'll beat Kyle 2-0, and he will be the one to win the Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly saga. Kyle talks about how he doesn't give a damn anymore. He will do whatever it takes to put an end to Cole. Kyle doesn't care, and that makes him dangerous. Cole accuses Kyle of riding his coattails for 13 years, and Kyle says he will never be as good as him. Cole says he's the best superstar NXT has ever seen, ever will see, and Kyle is just a footnote in his career. Ooh.
Indeed.
Kyle's problem is that he lacks killer instinct and that he's soft.
Yep.
Kyle paces around, getting more and more angry, takes his jacket off. Cole taunts him one more time. Kyle says nothing, but Kyle tries to attack. They start to fight. Security gets in between them and holds them back. Regal says he knew this would happen, and therefore the 3rd fall will be in a steel cage. But wait, what? Why does that happening necessitate a steel cage?
What? That
they attacked each other. Because he's like, I knew you were going to attack each other. That's why it's a steel cage. What's the connective tissue there? Because it's not random people running in and interfering.
They're not like, he doesn't want them to brawl all over the arena?
I don't know. Because a cage is generally designed to stop people from interfering.
Keep other people out or keep those people in the ring.
But they're not known for running away from each other, and people aren't known for running in and interfering. But anyways, I'm making you work really hard here.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So Kyle and Cole yell at each other while security continue to separate them to end this segment. Talk about what your thoughts were.
So the promo work was good. I thought they both did good. I'm not really thrilled with this match stipulation because it's not at all original. I was hoping for something different.
Feels a bit lazy, right?
It does. This is exactly what happened for Cole Gargano 3. Right. When I say exactly, I say exactly.
Yes.
The same match type, the same 3 match types within that match. Both at the SummerSlam TakeOver. Both featuring Adam Cole. Both are the 3rd match in their respective sagas. They could literally not be more different other than the fact Kyle O'Reilly is here now.
Yeah.
There's so many other stipulations they could have done. The match should be good. I don't really know why I'm complaining, but I don't like how exactly the same it is. Because it feels like I've seen this already. They should have at least chosen different fall stipulations. Kyle could have, chosen a submission match for an advantage.
Or even
Or Cole could choose maybe First Blood, maybe because his finisher targets the face. Or
it would be hard to fit in, but an Iron Man match even, right? Where it's just you have this amount of time,
get a 15-minute one.
15, half hour. You don't have to go an hour, right? But yeah, this seems
and
unless they're trying to make this a trademark.
An Iron Man match in the thing or as its own?
Just its own.
Oh, then yeah, you could do it a half
not
hour
with one of the stipulations, but just a straight up you both think you're better, so you have half an hour to get. I think they could have done
some or in last man standing match for the last fall would have been cool, something else.
Yep. I feel very similarly to you. I liked it. I liked the performance by the guys. I think it could have been a tad shorter. I thought Kyle and Cole both did a really good job. I liked, again, Kyle's rationale for the straight up first fall.
I'm in such a weird spot 'cause I know this will be good, but it's just like, I want something else.
This felt uninspired and unoriginal, right?
Yeah, I think that's just what does it for me.
But I mean, at the end of the day, Adam Cole can carry just about any talking segment you need him to, right? And Kyle has improved a ton too. So I liked the interaction between them. This format is very, very familiar, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Thatcher and Ciampa are then cutting a promo talking about Lorcan and Dunn needing to add Ridge Holland to help them out. Ciampa says Lorcan and Dunn need Ridge, and he gets it, but Ridge is not Thatcher or Ciampa. Can confirm that one. Ciampa says they've traveled and excelled and define everything that is good, just, and pure about this industry, but if Ridge Holland wants to make a name at their expense, let's party. Ciampa starts to suggest Holland versus himself, saying that he'll take on Holland, but Thatcher kind of interrupts and says, please, sir, if you will, and that he will face Ridge Holland. Ciampa does his normal, like, smacking a chair out of the way as he walks off, and Thatcher just simply tells us class is in session to end the segment. What'd you think of this promo?
What's the class? It was a good promo once again, but it sucks a lot to work a feud with Ridge Holland or Lorcan and Holland. Either way, big slip down the card from Great American Bash.
I fear that Thatcher is going to have to put over Holland. I really do.
Probably.
Gross. I like this promo too. I like the style these guys have sort of worked out, that Ciampa does most of the talking and they both stare straight ahead still. They kind of don't even barely acknowledge each other's existence. It still works for me. And then Thatcher usually just adds a little bit of something at the end, and then Ciampa throws stuff and gets angry. Is pretty much their formula, and I like it. So it's just too bad that this solid segment is setting up a Thatcher-Holland match and not something more appealing. And like I said, I fear Holland gets a win here. I don't.
I feel like he has to.
Yep, probably. And that's new NXT. Big young guy.
Not that I want him to, but like...
Big young guy going over
that's what's going to happen.
Smaller old guy. Get used to it, I have a feeling. We then get what starts out to be an Imperium promo. They say they are here to protect the sanctity of their sport by any means necessary, but then they are sort of interrupted and the feed is overtaken by MSK. Nash says that he's heard all of Imperium's BS about how MSK's title reign is meaningless. Wesley adds that MSK are the IV drip injecting life into the division, and if Imperium want them, let them know because they're fighting champions. The segment ends with the MSK logo kind of like spray painted digitally over top of an image of Imperium. So I kind of delivered it straight, but these guys were being like goofy and their silly kind of promo style. So imagine that if you didn't see it. What did you think of the promo?
So are we meant to believe that they have a hold of the production truck? They cut off Imperium, then put a spray paint graphic on the screen.
It is
Imperium
one of those.
also did this. And is it just easy to waltz in the production truck and just do whatever you want?
It is, I think.
Like,
if you're a babyface. Well, no, heels do it too.
They did it too.
MSK just asked nicely. Do you guys mind if we
They
edit
did it,
this
so
segment?
Could we do the same thing? Like,
sure. And they all have the technical skills to do that too, right? They all clearly have an editing background and can just walk into production.
The promo itself wasn't my favorite. It was back to like the goofiness. It's kind of annoying at times. It was kind of weird as well.
Yep.
It feels like they disappeared after their defense at Great American Bash, and this is just thrust in the spotlight, kind of.
Yes.
I later found out they're defending against Imperium next week, so they don't even make it to TakeOver.
No.
And this really feels like a must-see feud. It's coming next week. And I kind of find it interesting that in ROH, the Foundation are baby faces, but in NXT, Imperium are heels, even though it's essentially the same gimmick. Like the whole Mad is Sacred, pure wrestling thing.
But the key difference in WWE world, some of them are foreigners.
Oh,
they're not from America.
No, I forgot. That's
so that
a good point.
immediately makes them evil.
Yes, they're foreign. They're evil foreigners.
Right.
But Imperium are pretty boring and lack depth, but their matches are fine.
True.
I feel like MSK should be doing something more interesting, like something that would get them to take over, you know?
Like, I like MSK in terms of they provide fun, different matches in the tag division, but this title run is not very exciting. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the right place for them is.
I thought this promo was fine. They kind of walked the line of being too silly for me. This one wasn't quite over the line, so I didn't mind it. But again, I find I'm saying this every week. I don't think the championships do anything for MSK, even though I like them. I want them. I find myself like, wanting them to drop the titles to almost anyone, because I think they're much more fun chasing the titles than defending them, right? It's the classic, like, super babyface high flyers. Them constantly defending the title doesn't make as much sense to me as babyface chasing heels for the title. So I don't know. I thought this was fine, and the match will probably be pretty good. But again, I don't love them with the tag belts at this point. So then we get a quick reminder of the 2 out of 3 falls match between O'Reilly and Cole, and the Night Grimes match, and the newly agreed upon stakes for that one coming up at TakeOver. Then we move back into the Breakout Tournament. This is a semi-final match between Odyssey Jones and Trey Baxter. So puts a cruiserweight high flyer against a
big guy they told me is good, and I said nope.
405-pound monster. So again, we know the route that NXT is taking these days, as it's been revealed that they're going bigger and younger. So I wonder who could possibly win this match. So Baxter's sort of debuting a bit of a new look here. I thought he looked better. He's cut his hair, and he looks clean shaven. I thought he looked considerably different, but I think the haircut for sure is an improvement. It's just in my opinion, whatever.
Yeah, and it was really weird. They didn't have a beard.
Baxter tries to use his quickness early, but Jones obviously overpowers him easily. We get a flurry of strikes by Baxter, but Jones just picks him up and throws him. Baxter targets Jones' leg before a DDT and a nice spinning kick for 2 by Baxter. Corner splash, and then a finishing whatever kind of slam it is, and Jones gets the win. Jones is asked right after the match, pretty much at ringside, how he's feeling after the match. And then he just
decides to pump up the crowd. He's like, how are you feeling? He's like, first of all, what up, people?
What up, WWE Universe? So he's already using, like, all of the little terms that Vince will love, and he's 400 pounds, so strap a rocket to his back, brother, because here comes Odyssey Jones.
Giant rocket.
He is happy to punch his ticket to the finals and says, look, mama, I made it. Talk about it, Jackson. What'd you think of this?
Match was okay. I don't think Jones is that good or unique. I still didn't see that big man athleticism they were touting when he was introduced.
They do talk about it.
His finisher is okay. It doesn't look super impactful. It's kind of bland. Baxter got in a few cool moves that heel kick. Yep. I think he should have won, but given Vince's new push towards bigger guys, I don't think he'll be doing much in the future. I still don't get Jones' character either, and Carmelo Hayes better win this tournament.
Right? And so.
This felt kind of too one-sided.
Yeah, I didn't love this. Jones did not much other than really basic power moves.
He feels like just a basic, like, giant powerhouse rather than like this surprisingly athletic.
Yes, because the commentary keep telling us, right, that this guy, the things he can do and the way he can move for 400 pounds, but I'm not seeing it. It's more like, not quite Mark Henry, but like closer to Mark Henry than some athletic big man.
Than Keith Lee.
Than Bam Bam Bigelow. Or Keith Lee, nice example, yeah. So this was clearly designed to make Jones look really strong, and I don't think it was super successful. Like you're saying,
made Baxter look stupid.
I have a note here. Commentary put over Jones. The amount they do leads me to believe that we're going to be seeing a lot of him going forward, especially in the new quote-unquote NXT. I thought this was just okay, and this tournament really is consistently underwhelming from every angle. In-ring, promos, to some of the talent. Like, I'm just not into this tournament, and I really wanted to be, so I've been disappointed for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
We get a really quick Tien Sha thing where Boa says disobedience will not be tolerated. And it's just one of those in action next, which isn't true because next we get Mackenzie outside Regal's office with an update on next week's NXT. Kushida walks out of the office, as does Malcolm Bivens, who gives his card to one of the security guys outside the door. Regal reveals that next week will be Imperium versus MSK for the NXT Tag Team Championship, as well as Kushida versus Roderick Strong for the Cruiserweight Championship.
They say Diamond Mine's Roderick Strong, but who else does Diamond Mine frickin' have?
Nobody.
You got rid of the other one, guys.
I do like that there's 2 big matches for next week, because I really need a killer episode of NXT at some point.
They're kind of maybe big matches that like don't quite make the cut for TakeOver, I feel like.
Because there were weeks in a row where I was giving this show like A- and stuff.
Same.
Where I was really enjoying
like,
it.
I think it was like the couple weeks or so, or like to Great American Bash included.
Yes, awesome.
And then it just kind of.
So I'm not like it's not.
Isn't it bad?
It's not a chore to watch, but
it's not like I'm not excited.
Heading in
anymore.
the wrong direction. Yes,
I find it's like AEW's also been pretty good, but I'm not really excited to watch either.
Yeah.
It's weird because like AEW has not been bad. But...
No. Regal at least referred to Diamond Mine, so they still exist, which was nice to learn from
right,
this
you
little
still
segment.
got Hideki Suzuki, the coach boy.
So one
and
wrestler,
Bivens.
one wrestler, a coach, and a manager.
So, can you even call that a faction?
I don't think so.
Like,
because nobody can take any offense or whatever, can fight other than one guy.
Right, it's literally like, it's just like a guy and his lackeys, or like whatever, you know? Like,
and I don't think like he's a big enough dude to have, you know what I mean? It's Roddy, but like he doesn't need an entourage. He's not really that kind of guy. So I don't know where this is going.
Like,
Unless they're gonna recruit,
how important Tyler Rust was?
I imagine they're going to recruit somebody from like the breakout tournament or something to add to that.
Now you're realizing how important Tyler Rust was.
Yes, he was the glue that held it all together.
Yeah, he's what made it a faction.
We're then shown a quick tweet from your favorite wrestler Mandy Rose congratulating Gigi Dolan on her win.
I just stopped caring.
Before we move into a match between Boa representing Tien Shaw versus Drake Maverick, already in the ring, because there's new NXT. You're really, really small in a comedy
To be fair,
guy.
he wasn't really doing
No,
much.
he
He's
wasn't.
probably pretty screwed now that he's not teaming with
yeah.
Killian Dane.
He's enhancement talent
I
now.
kind of forgot Killian Dane was gone.
So Boa gets the full Tien Shaw entrance here, minus like weapons at the end. Like
Yeah, his entrance kind of sucks.
Boa then has a series of kicks right away. Maverick returns the favor before taking a shot to the throat to sort of stop his momentum. I thought it was a pretty decent looking palm strike by Boa and a stomp to the hand. Kicks by Boa while maintaining a knuckle lock on Maverick. One final flurry by Drake with a Rana and a top rope senton to Boa on the floor. Drake turns right into the mist from Tien Shaw on the outside, gets back into the ring, walks into a roundhouse kick from Boa, and it's over. Thoughts on this exciting match?
Well, I thought there was no effort in his entrance compared to Xia Li.
Right.
Just like there's a contrast there, clearly. The match wasn't really anything new. Boa should have dominated him way more as a result of his training, but once again, not the case. Cheap finish with the fog was lame, and roundhouse kick win is lame. See Tyler Rust versus Bobby Fish. There wasn't really anything of note or anything to care about. It's just this is kind of there for no reason.
Yeah, I thought this was just another enhancement match, and that's arguably, I have 4 this week, right? Like 4 pretty not competitive matches on this show. My question, is this the new NXT? Because this basically is like you're going to bookend the show with 2 real matches, right? The opener and the main event, and then fill the middle with this kind of stuff. I hope not. I'm hoping this is just the way this episode worked out.
Yeah, it's like if this is... It really does make NXT feel like a crummy developmental thing. Again.
Yeah,
even when it was actually developmental, it never really felt like that.
And if it's developmental, I mean, selfishly, as long as you're developing the type of talent I like, I'll still love it. But if you're telling me we're just going for young, big, converted football players, right? Like, that seems to be the vibe. They're
or
looking
like these green...
Like, basically, Vince is saying he wants somebody that you can imagine in the main event on main roster, which all that translated means really, really big and
I
muscular.
could imagine Adam Cole being
Right,
there, because Vince freaking loves Shawn Michaels. Give him a chance, Vince.
So I thought Boa looked fine here. I keep waiting to see something new out of him, and I don't, right? Like, it's just
No,
more of the same.
I stopped caring about this gimmick a while ago.
Speaking about not caring about gimmicks, we transition back
yeah.
to round 3 of Date Night with
Speaking of being
Indy
bored out of my damn mind.
and Dexter Lumis. So Indy is still doing all the talking, obviously, as she has to. She says it's time for dessert. So we get like a ridiculously over-the-top French waiter who is very obviously Johnny Gargano comes out.
I hate this so much.
Indy tears the disguise off of Johnny, says Lumis better be Johnny says Lumis better be paying, and that he's taking the cake home. So Johnny and Indy fight over the cake, and guess what happens? It gets smashed into
never guess.
Dexter Lumis's face. Gargano runs off. Indy says she always has room for dessert, implies she's gonna like lick the cake off of Lumis's face.
Like a damn dog.
As she reaches out to cover the camera as she leans in to kiss Dexter Lumis. This is the greatest love story ever told. How did you feel about this final segment for this week? I'm sure we'll get 3 more next week.
That is an insult to Jim and Pam, and also Princess Bride.
Jim and Pam, nice. The only love story I ever cared about on any show, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about this.
Far from caring. More awful TV tropes for you. Classic waiter disguise, and the fight over the cake only for it to hit someone in the face. Yeah.
Yep.
This was short, but it was, oh my god, cringy and stupid. I did not care for this whatsoever, and Lumis still sucks.
So these guys get 3 segments almost every week. It's too much for me at this point.
Yeah, and the more and more this crap goes on, I shall progressively be meaner and meaner towards Dexter Lumis.
I really do want to like it. I just don't. I get what they're trying to do.
No, I don't want to like it anymore.
It's not for me. Commentary are really starting to annoy me this week as they're driving home the talking points from this constantly, right?
Yeah,
and that's
and
without
me,
Beth here.
It's been so bad and boring. I don't even want to care about it anymore. I don't even want to like it.
It's just, okay, it was a little bit amusing maybe, but how many weeks are we going to drag this out? I don't. Anyways, I'm
like, I don't want 3 segments for it just to be the slightest bit amusing.
Yes, I agree. But maybe people love it.
And for me, it's not even that amusing.
No. So we get what they're calling a target takeover. Have they used that term before?
No, it's basically a prime target segment, but I'm pretty sure they only do one of those per takeover because it's like the prime target.
So they've made up imaginary
rules. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So they had to give it a slightly different name.
You can't have more than one prime.
I don't know, but
subprime target.
Well, that's just what they tend to do, right?
Yeah. So anyways, this is.
Because they did for Walter Dragunov.
One of those back and forth sort of things, pre-produced segments. Cross talks about wanting to cause chaos, and Joe says part of his job as enforcer meant that he had to slap people in the mouth, and Cross has a big mouth, but also has a championship. Cross then says that Joe is not that different from Cross because he likes to hurt people, and there's nothing wrong with that. Joe's back saying that Cross is a very dangerous individual, just not on main roster, but Joe is much more dangerous. Cross says that Joe wants to control things.
Not when it comes to Jeff Hardy.
And that Joe is just another opportunist. Joe says it's not about the championship. He's there to mess Cross up, but he uses an expletive instead. It is Cross's duty to make sure Joe goes to sleep. And when Joe goes out cold, so will the past of NXT. I think you're a bit late for that, but that's okay. In the end, everybody pays the toll. I've messed up his dramatic finishing line. I'm sorry, Karrion Kross. What did you think of this?
I will never apologize to Karrion Kross for anything.
Takeover, not Prime Target. Target Takeover.
It is insanely different from Prime Target. So how dare you even compare them? They're completely different in completely separate rooms.
Of course.
I kind of like Cross' point that Joe isn't that different from him. I think they could use that. I think Joe could they could do a thing where he wins the title and plays it for a bit, and then he turns heel once Cross leaves, and he reveals that he was playing Regal the whole time to get back on the roster and get the title back. He could go on a monster run.
Monster heel Joe?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
I'm down for that.
I mean, sure, that would probably prolong Pete Dunne winning the title, but I think we can afford that.
Yep.
Other than that, I thought the promo work was generally fine, and it was a good recap of the feud thus far. Doesn't hold a candle, though, to some of the Prime Target segments that we've gotten in the past.
Oh, yeah. Some of the Prime Targets, I'm, captivated and can't take notes because it's just so interesting. I thought this was good. Something just a bit off about Cross's delivery. I'm not sure what it is, and I think it's even more glaring when in direct comparison to Joe, because I love the way Joe's intensity and stuff. So Cross bugged me a little bit, but
I noticed that Scarlett hasn't been that prominent.
She is not at all, right? And I think this feud should feel bigger than it is. And I can't help but think that some of the main roster treatment of Cross has taken the shine from this feud in this match for me.
No, I think it's
because
just
even if I'm
Karrion
not,
Kross.
even though I'm not watching main roster, I still follow it and keep up with it.
We're still aware of it. It's not like it doesn't exist.
And I know he's being presented as something very different from what he has been on NXT, right? And so there's just a bit of a disconnect for me.
I don't think he's been the best.
No, I would
even before that.
I would still say this was a good little package, but again, you're right, not as up to the par of some of the Prime Targets. Maybe that's why it wasn't a Prime Target. It's not that good.
It isn't Prime.
But it was good enough. We get a brief Ilya Dragunov vignette, and just one of his matches next things, and they're actually right this time.
Oh my god.
We do, in fact...
Mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen.
We get the main event.
It was actually up next.
Ilya Dragunov versus Pete Dunne. Again, really close to a dream match for me. I would love to see these guys wrestle even more. So we get holds and counters to start, as you would expect between these two. Finally, a judo takedown by Dragunov, but a flying knee by Dunne, followed by some stiff kicks and slaps. This is where we like to talk about these guys have come to an agreement, right? And I was actually talking to your mother. Poor woman had to listen to me talk about wrestling a little bit. I was talking about Dragunov Walter 1 with her and how it was basically they just come from a background or whatever where they don't mind just being beaten
Sorry,
up
Mom.
for real. So that's kind of what...
Did you talk to her about this yesterday?
Yeah. So
that's
on our
all
anniversary,
nice.
that's romance, buddy.
Yeah.
They say romance is dead, but not. So it's kind of like we always say, like they kind of made an agreement that just really hit me and really kicked me, and some of the forearms and elbows in this are...
Dragunov must have been just like beat the crap out of me.
So we get a matrix and a jumping kick by Dragunov, suplex and a second rope knee drop by Dragunov as well. He comes off the top but gets caught by a nice forearm from Pete Dunne. Dunne taunts Dragunov with small kicks before a strike exchange. Series of really big clotheslines take down Dunne as Dragunov is selling. I think it's his left arm that's injured. Then we get a suplex from Dragunov.
I think that's the one Dunne goes after the whole match.
Another matrix to avoid Dunne, but Dunne soccer kicks his arm. More battling to apply submissions as Dunne keeps going back to that injured Dragunov arm. Dragunov counters a triangle with a power bomb and a forearm to the face. We get a hand stomp, a head kick, before vicious forearm shots by Pete Dunne. Something about his forearm shots are really
Some of them,
stiff.
especially when it's like he's catching someone in midair.
Yes. And again,
it's like, you don't think that would work, but like...
And again, I think it's partly Dragunov just going, just lay it in there. It's fine, right? Like, I'll be fine. I've taken them from Walter, so go ahead. What are you going to do to me?
Once you've taken them from Walter, you can hit... Once you've been hit by Walter, you can face anything.
You can let guys hit you with cinder blocks at that point.
Yes.
Bridging suplex by Dragunov for 2. A big senton off the top by Dragunov I thought looked really good. He sets up for a signature move before Walter's music hits and the big man walks to the ring. Dragunov avoids a bitter end but gets caught by a stiff Dunne forearm.
You know it's big if Walter shows up on TV.
Right. That's a big deal.
That's pretty dope.
So, momentary distraction. Dunne takes a forearm as Dragunov was leaping in for a move, and then Pete Dunne actually hits his bitter end for a somewhat clean win off a distraction, but no interference.
Isn't it kind of funny?
A little bit surprising, yeah.
Isn't it kind of ironic that Walter helped Pete Dunne?
Yeah, a little bit. Dunne leaves the ring. Walter comes in and attacks Dragunov, but Dragunov counters with his Torpedo Moscow, as they call it, and Walter escapes to the floor. So... Dragunov loses the match.
Proceeds to jinx himself.
So Dragunov loses the match, but sort of stands tall in his encounter with Walter. So what'd you think of the main event?
I thought this was pretty good. It started out with some technical wrestling, which both are pretty good at, and it boiled down to the strikes, which both of them have down to a science. I'm thankful for Walter showing, because Dunne actually got the win, so that's good for him. Because we assumed like this will get Dragunov kind of momentum. And Dunne would lose, but he actually got the win, so that's cool. I also like the quick Dunne-Walter interaction if Walter retains, which I'm not sure if he will, but if he does, I hope it's revisited, because I would love to see them face off again, even though they're both heels, but I think that'd be really good.
Yeah.
Still. Dragunov has improved since he was introduced. He really wasn't interesting at first, just as the intense guy. Became better in the ring with matches like the Finn Balor and Walter matches, and after the latter, he developed his character a ton. He's gotten even better in the ring now, and I like him. I think he would actually be a great choice to defeat Walter, but he might have jinxed himself.
I love the story that they're pushing that, like, that match against Walter, like, changed him and broke him, basically.
It's realistic.
And that it's made him, like, just a different person, that match. So I really like this main event. I love both of these guys, especially when they're working with somebody who doesn't mind working stiff. So, like, both of these guys don't really care. So it just adds to the non-stop, hard-hitting action. Dunne did his usual arm targeting that I like. Dragunov's counters and aggression were also really impressive. The distraction finish wasn't ideal, but it allowed Dunne to win, so I don't mind it as much. And all in all, a really good main event, I thought. And a nice introduction for people in North America if they haven't seen Dragunov yet. Like, I think there's no doubt that they should see that this is a talented guy. And I don't know how much they should be aware of Walter, because he's actually wrestled a couple matches.
The Ciampa one was actually not super long ago. It was like, WrestleMania weekend?
So I'm hoping people are as excited about this match as we are. So overall thoughts on the episode?
So the opener was good. I'm glad Kai won, but I feel like it could have been a little better. I was unhappy the second they told us about the index segment. It wasn't much better than my expectations. I'll talk about them as a whole right now. They're all cringy and boring, for all the dumbest of classic TV tropes. I'm getting more and more annoyed with the constant use of these 3-part segments. And I'm getting really annoyed with the use of these TV tropes, like in this segment, the Grimes and Knight thing, and the Zoe EO segment.
Right.
It's cringy at best. Hit Row's promo was good as usual, but a little odd because it leaned a little more towards heel, despite Hit Row being cheered more than Legato throughout this feud.
Yep.
Dragunov cut a good promo, which showed how much he's improved, I think. I'm super happy to be getting a Dragunov Dunne match tonight. Knight squash is short. I guess the takeover stipulation is fine. But if I'm Knight, I would keep both of them as butlers. Gigi Dolan looked decent in her squash, and I'm happy to see she's finally getting something. She's finally on the other side of these squashes.
Right.
And she seems to be starting on a push, although it'll suck if it involves Mandy Rose. I like the Cole and O'Reilly segment, and the match should be good, although I wish it was a little more unique from the Toronto one.
Right.
In 2019, which we were there.
We were there.
MSK's promo was back to what I don't love from them, and Jones vs. Baxter wasn't great, and Baxter didn't really get a lot there.
Nope.
And Jones doesn't really look that great. Boa's win was meh. I still don't care. The Target Takeover segment was fine, but lesser compared to Prime Target segments. Main event was great. Picked up the show for me. There were too many squash matches on the show, and the index stuff sucked for me, but a couple good segments and matches saved the show a bit, so I'll give it like a B, kind of in the middle there.
Nice. You made a good point that there's another story that's similar in tone with the EO and Zoe Stark, right? Where it's that kind of light humor stuff. It wasn't on this week, but you're right. So there's basically week, I think. It was, but I'm sure they're coming back to that, right? So there's 3 storylines of like what I find a similar tone, and it's not a tone that I love. But anyways, I didn't mind this episode of NXT, but the bulk of the show was essentially enhancement matches, right? So I liked the Kai Saray opener, and I really liked the main event. But in between, right, were basically largely one-sided matches. You had LA Knight and Chase, which was a squash. Dolan versus Miller, squash. Jones versus Baxter, a little more than a squash, but not much, right? Like enhancement.
Is there really much of a difference?
And then Boa Maverick was a squash. So in-ring was hit and miss this week. Like I said, they bookended
when they actually did a match, they were great,
and then filled it with enhancement stuff.
And then one of them, like the night match, really was that even a match?
No, not really. So segment-wise, I liked the Kyle and Cole face-to-face, despite the sort of repetitive stipulations. The Thatcher Ciampa promo and the Cross Joe Target takeover were good. The Way Loomis segment and Grimes stuff are just too frequent and just not something. They're not for me. I keep saying it, right? It's not stuff I'm interested in.
Right. It feels like it belongs on the main roster.
It does. Gigi Dolan had a decent vignette, and Hit Row had another solid but brief segment. So this show felt like a definite B- to me. So decent in parts, but not great. If they had one other like high quality match in place of a brief one-sided one, it probably would have pushed it up to a B.
Okay, fair enough.
Because some of the segments were interesting, but again, 3-way segments and a couple Grimes segments. Even though I love Grimes, one of my favorites, but still,
I like them better as the annoying hillbilly.
I'm anticipating a little bit better next week because we've got 2 championship matches on that card already.
Show.
So I'm hopeful for a strong show next week. B- this week. I'm hoping things will pick up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into, you want to do some trivia?
Sure.
We've got our next segment, which is called Off the Top of His Head. All right, so I'm going back to these general trivia because I thought they were pretty good. So remember, you have options if you would like them. So any listeners, play along at home. See if you know more than Jack about wrestling. You probably don't, not to spoil it, but let's see where this goes. You ready? Question 1, we'll do 25. Who did The Undertaker defeat to become 20-0 at WrestleMania? 20-0.
Triple H.
Triple H is correct. And again, Jack has no idea about these questions. He's literally going off the top of his head.
I was going to say CM Punk, but
he's not looking up anything.
CM Punk was 21-0, and then he lost to Lesnar.
That is correct. The first WWE Hell in a Cell match took place at which pay-per-view event?
In Your House, Bad Blood, 1997.
This is one of these, why do you know that? Because you started to say In Your House, and I'm like, it's not one of the options. I got him. And then you went Bad Blood. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's correct. Like, why do you know that? I'm
pretty sure technically it was In Your House.
I don't know why you would know that, but good for you. Here you go. Who did David Arquette pin to win the WCW World title?
Eric Bischoff.
Why do you know that? You're right.
I don't know.
Which wrestler
Pretty sure he's teaming with DDP too.
This one I think I remember. Which wrestler was thrown into a swimming pool during the 2020 Chris Jericho Cruise edition of Dynamite?
Oh. I want to say MJF.
Correct. I didn't even need the options. MJF is correct. What was the name of the WCW faction that consisted of Shane Helms, Shannon Moore, and Evan Courageous?
3 Count.
Yeah, I liked 3 Count, actually. That was back when I was watching. So, see, they were like a silly, ridiculous thing too that knew they were, similar to what WWE tries to do, but for whatever reason it didn't bother me because it was limited stuff. Who was originally scheduled to be Brock Lesnar's opponent at the 2017 Survivor Series? That is hard. Who
Jinder
was
Mahal.
scheduled? Why do you know that?
Because he was champion. And then AJ Styles beat him like the SmackDown before.
Okay, so you are...
Remember? And then the
No,
next
I don't
year,
remember. I don't
AJ
remember
Styles, because remember, AJ had the year-long run.
Yeah.
And so he was about to face Brock again, but then Bryan won last second, and so that happened again. And then last year, remember, Drew McIntyre beat Randy Orton just before Survivor
I think
Series?
I'm basically a wrestling goldfish. Like, as soon as the next thing is on, I've forgotten what I saw, obviously. So, what was the match stipulation for Kane versus Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam 2013?
Ring of Fire.
That is correct. You got all of them so far without even needing the options, right?
Yeah,
I believe.
it was basically an Inferno match, if we're being honest. Like,
here you go. You got to know this one? The autobiography, I Ain't Got Time to Bleed, was written by which wrestler? You can have options if you'd like, because this one's hard, I think.
Sure.
Steve Austin, Ric Flair, Terry Funk, Jesse Ventura.
Terry Funk.
Nope. Think about I Ain't Got Time to Bleed. So 3 of those people are known for bleeding a lot, I would suggest, and 1 not so much. Jesse Ventura. The rest of them bleed all the time, right? Funk, Flair, and Austin are always a bloody mess. Okay. Who did Rob Van Dam wrestle in his first Monday Night Raw match in 97? Ooh. You want options?
Yeah.
Sabu, Flash Funk, Jeff Hardy, Bob Holly.
Flash Funk.
Incorrect. I believe it was Hardy. It was Hardy.
I don't ask me why, but I was going to say that before the options.
You don't know anything.
No, I don't think it's that.
Which celebrity was a special guest at WrestleMania 7 in Los Angeles?
Options.
Little Richard, Steve Allen, Robin Leach, Alex Trebek.
Steve Allen.
It was, I believe, Alex Trebek, Canadian. R.I.P. Alex Trebek. Host of Jeopardy for 9 million years.
Still don't know who that
recently
is.
Died. Which 1980s WWF wrestler demanded a 5 count during his matches?
King Kong Bundy.
Correct. Even I knew that one. That's an iconic gimmick. And Biggie Langston when he was in NXT.
Yeah. Biggie Langston.
Who was the first person inducted into the TNA Impact Hall of Fame? I have options. Sting. Kurt Angle. Sorry, Sting? Correct.
I was going to say Sting, but I just wanted to verify.
Which wrestler attacked Vince McMahon at the end of the June 25th, 2001 edition of Raw in Madison Square Garden?
Booker T.
That is ridiculously specific, yet you seem to know it. You are correct.
Invasion Angle, baby.
Oh, it was. Okay. See, if they had thrown that in, it might have helped me. Who did Chris Benoit defeat to win his first and only WCW World Championship?
Sid.
Sid is correct. Why do you know that?
I
Again,
don't
stuff
know.
you've never watched. And it's funny because you've never seen it and you know, and I did watch it and I can't remember. I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. What was the name of Vince McMahon's song, on the 1987 album Piledriver? I wish this were the last question because how could you know this? Do you want options?
No Chance in Hell, I guess.
That is one of the options. You want to take it? It is not correct, I don't think. It was Stand Back. I think the No Chance in Hell was the later Mr. McMahon character.
No Pants in Hell.
Right. What was the name of the South Park episode that spoofed WWE?
That's not fair.
Do you want options?
Yeah.
Cartman wrestles with an anal probe, WTF, sexual harassment panda, or 2 guys naked in a hot tub? This is an odd question.
I want to pick sexual harassment panda just because that's funny.
It was WTF.
Oh. I just picked them.
I think those were all things from South Park at some point. What was the final match of the final pay-per-view from the original ECW? I do not know this one. Options?
Yes.
Rhino versus Sandman.
Rhino versus Sandman.
It is not. I'm going to take Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn, which is correct. By the way, you should probably watch some Jerry Lynn RVD matches. They are incredible. John Cena, this seems back to your wheelhouse, made his WWE pay-per-view debut at Vengeance in 2002. Who was his opponent? Pay-per-view debut at 2002 Vengeance. I have options if you'd like them. Jericho, Angle, Benoit, Guerrero.
Jericho.
Jericho is correct. Who did Chris Jericho face in his first WWE pay-per-view match?
I want to say The Rock.
That is an option. Taking it? committed. It was X-Pac.
Damn you, Sean Waltman.
Who was the first entrant in the 1993 Royal Rumble? 93 Royal Rumble. One of the famous ones, isn't it? Oh, no, 92 was. You want options?
Mm-hmm.
Flair, Perfect, DiBiase, IRS.
Perfect.
Mr. Ric Flair, coming off his win in 92, was first. Couple more. Howard Finkel was a personal ring announcer for which wrestler?
CM Punk.
CM Punk is correct, 2011.
Chicago made.
Yep. Who was the female winner of the first season of Tough Enough? I forgot this one. I should have known that. Nydia is correct. Very good.
That's it. Yeah, she's Jamie Noble.
She and Jamie Noble's gimmick, I thought they were super entertaining. I'm not going to lie at the time. Which movie character had a verbal confrontation with Rick Steiner on the October 12th, 98 edition of Nitro? I have options for you. It's all like horror movie people.
Chucky.
Chucky is correct. That's awesome. Did you know, or were you just taking a guess?
I remember something about Chucky.
You're
yeah,
right.
The horror thing helped.
2 more questions. Last
my
one.
first guess was going to be RoboCop because I know.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. That was an amazing storyline. Which legendary rock band performed on the August 23rd, 99 edition of WCW Monday Nitro? If I give you the options, it will probably help you a lot.
Kiss.
Kiss is correct, I believe, because of why?
Kiss Demon.
Right, the Kiss Demon. Another amazing gimmick. Oh my goodness, so much good stuff. All right, last one. You ready? I'm hoping it's one that you won't know. You probably will. We'll see. After WCW was sold to WWE, Mr. Perfect made his return to WWE at which pay-per-view event?
2002 Royal Rumble.
Dang it. Royal Rumble is correct.
In the actual match, I'm pretty sure.
And you end, I think you're right. And you end by getting one right, which is never my goal, but you did it. So good job. So excellent. I mean, you started off crushing it. There's a couple hard ones in the middle, and you finished strong. So great job. So let's switch back to talking about some wrestling, and that is your turn to talk about this week's AEW Dynamite.
Yes, and we start with a quick promo from MJF and Wardlow. MJF says Jericho can't handle the MJF beat him twice, and that's why he's putting himself through the labors. MJF says he almost feels bad for Jericho because he has come so far only to have to face Wardlow. He says his catchphrase, and Wardlow says he will most definitely win. But then MJF's like you did with Cody in the cage, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
Because that was like labors he set up for Cody. Remember, like he also whipped him with the belt.
Right.
And, yeah. So that was kind of a cool callback.
I thought this was great. MJF is awesome, and I like the sudden shift in tone, right? So when he switches to Wardlow, it's almost like MJF's
motivation.
He's starting to panic, right? He's starting to get desperate because Jericho is getting really close to facing him, and him as the chicken heel doesn't want that to happen.
Right, and so it seems like he's labor number 5, right? MJF,
yes.
Which that does not make sense. I thought it was supposed to be like 5 labors to get to the match.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems to be where they're going. I thought this was awesome
kind of
heel work
labors
by MJF. He cut a strong promo on Jericho, and then in the last couple lines, right, he reveals that sort of hint of desperation and even gives us a tease of maybe some tension with Wardlow. So I thought this brief little starting segment accomplished quite a bit. I really liked it.
Yeah. I thought it was a good promo by MJF to open the show, and I liked the callback to the cage match, as that was like MJF kind of did the same thing to Cody.
And he's just desperate to motivate Wardlow because he doesn't want to face Jericho, right? So it's even like insulting his own guy.
Right,
like,
he's just trying to get Wardlow like, you gotta do this.
So that desperation's starting to sort of seep through MJF, and I really liked it. I thought he did a good job.
And so we open the show with a trios match, or the opening match is a trios match between the Elite, represented by Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, versus Dante Martin of Top Flight, with his brother, I think, still out with an injury, and the Sydal brothers, Matthew and Michael Sydal. In like a Dante Martin showcase match, basically, right? This felt like, my goodness. So this was it was a fast and action-packed hot opener with everyone getting in at least a bit of good offense. I thought there was like everyone got at least something good, right? I agree. Even Michael Sydal. Yep. Notables, a body slam and gyrating by Matt Jackson. Their entrance was so awesome. Just like they were back to using like the Elite theme, like from BTE. and just Nick Jackson's doing like the elite thing, and
they're just so ridiculous and
it's so good.
Yeah,
I
they're
even
great.
like they put it on the Instagram. If you have Instagram, go check that out on AEW's Instagram, because like I think they have the video at the entrance. It's just so. It was simple this week. It wasn't like the Space Jam thing or anything, but it's just so.
Yep,
douchey.
they're just over the top.
It's just
dirtbag
so
heels. They're good.
Yeah. Leg sweep and a standing Phoenix Senton by Matt Sydal. Classic move by him. Arm drags by Mike Sydal. Leapfrog and a dropkick by Dante on Nick Jackson. Triple baseball slide dropkick by Dante and the Sydals, followed by an assisted dive on the Elite. So they kind of like boosted Dante.
Right.
After they kind of like they all did baseball slide dropkicks at the same time. Standing moonsault by Mike for a 2 count. Corner punches and stomps by Matt Jackson. Chop by Omega. Matt holds Mike in a wheelbarrow position, so Nick hits his slingshot X Factor, and then Matt lifts him back up, so Omega hits a Kataro Crusher kind of over Matt. It was really cool.
It's really funny because my notes right to that point were literally, so because the Bucks are working heel, right? So I have no high flying really or tandem offense this far in this match by the Bucks. And then boom, suddenly everything explodes. And my next note is triple team move ending in a Kataro Crusher, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hot tag flurry by Matt Sydal, capped off by an inside hook Fisherman Buster with Nick breaking the pin.
I thought it was a nice hot
tag. That was a helpful note by Excalibur, because otherwise I would not know what to call that. Dante flips out of a Snapdragon and flips over Omega and hits an Enziguri.
Crazy.
Crowd count punches by Dante to Matt after a hot tag. Dante jumps up to the top rope and hits a springboard Hurricane Run on outside to Omega. He literally runs
Looked
and just
insane.
Dead jumps to the top rope and
Right.
then just jumps off of there into a Hurricane Rana.
I'm not sure how many people can pull that off.
Fabian Eichner is like the only other person I think I've seen do
It looks like something like Rey Mysterio would do because
right,
he's
and
so tiny.
Looked even cleaner than Eichner.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Double springboard into a moonsault by Dante for 2. It's like kind of where he springboards there, jumps to the other rope, and does
immediately
the moonsault.
after the jump to the outside.
Yeah.
Too.
Everyone gets hit with the move from someone else. Many good strikes were involved there. An inside hook for the patella drop brainbuster by Omega for 2, which is pretty nice.
Yep.
Incorrectly labeled as a new Shigoroshi.
Right.
That's from a Fireman's Carry Excalibur. V
details.
trigger. By Omega. Dante flips out of a one-winged angel, hits a Pele kick. Another V trigger. Dante flips out of a Tiger Drive and rolls up Omega for a near fall, and then he essentially gets killed. He gets hit with the V trigger, a one-winged angel, and a simultaneous BTE V trigger combo.
Yep.
For the win for the Elite. He literally gets obliterated.
Yep.
And then after the match, Don Callis takes the mic from Tony Schiavone. Callis says Pittsburgh hasn't seen a winning team like the Elite, which is probably sports reference or something.
Sport ball.
Do they have a basketball team?
He's talking about football mostly, I think.
Do they have a basketball team? They don't,
No,
right?
they do not.
No?
They have hockey and football.
Callis gets cut off by stupid Christian Cage. Callis
and
calls
baseball.
Cage the Stanford Stooge. Ooh, reference.
Yeah.
Cal says Cage is dumb and says there's 10 of them, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But then out walk Jurassic Express, and then there's a commercial break, which is odd. And then after the commercial break, I laughed because Callis takes the mic from Tony again.
Yeah.
When Callis talks about Cage facing Omega All Out, CM Punk chants get like really loud.
Deafening, but really brief. It didn't like take over the promo.
No,
the crowd
was
just
for that a few seconds. It was just like really loud. Cal says Cage is one of the best finishers, and I laughed at this. Kenny can't wait to kick out of it.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was really funny.
Yep.
Cage calls Callis a carny piece of poo-poo word.
Yep.
Cage says All Out is locked in for the most important title in the sport. Literally. He says Omega has more than one title, so he essentially just roasted the other titles Omega
a little bit,
has.
Right?
He says he talked to Tony Khan and Scott D'Amore, and Omega will face Cage on the Rampage debut for not the most important title in the sport, the Impact Championship, which is kind of interesting.
A little appetizer, I guess, before the main entree.
That I don't really want to eat.
Yeah.
Jungle Boy then also says that Jurassic Express will be facing the Bucks for the tag titles next week instead of All
Jungle
Out.
Boy is very over with this crowd as well, I thought.
That sounds like a good match. Thoughts?
I thought this was a great opener, and honestly, like, I wasn't expecting it because it's the Sydals and Dante Martin, right? So
But I like the Sydals in the ring, particularly Matt Sydal has had a match or two that I've enjoyed.
And this is what I kind of love about the Bucks and Omega is they clearly were like, we're going to go make Dante Martin look like a star here. And I think they were successful.
I saw, like, I was telling about this, a dumb comment on, like, one of the posts is, like, he was saying, like, they know nothing about psychology. They should have let Dante Martin win for, like, a huge pop. But I think they still did a great job of putting him over without giving him the win. Because he did not need the win here. It really had no point.
No, and psychology-wise, I don't think you can have your dominant heel faction losing to minor talent,
I think
no
this
offense.
shows, like, a lot of their knowledge of psychology. Because, like, it could be, like, they probably being the absolute douche heels that they are, completely overlooking this young kid and getting a little upstaged by him before putting him away, because undoubtedly they are better.
Right. So I thought the first half of this was kind of standard, and then things went crazy and highlighted by Martin for me in this.
He's really talented.
Some insane stuff. Everybody got a chance to look good. Even though result was never in doubt, I thought this was incredibly fun. And then post-match...
Right, it's always good, like, when it's entertaining despite, knowing
like this
the result.
I know who's going to win, and these three guys are not push talent. Like, the Seidels are almost enhancement, gatekeeper stuff, but this match was super fun. Post-match, Callis cut a really strong promo. Omega made me laugh a couple times, and I actually thought Christian and Jungle Boy did a good job, too. That tag match should be sweet, right? Between Jurassic, whatever they're called, Express. Is that right? Jurassic...
Express.
Is that
I think
right?
you called him Jurassic Park once.
I was thinking Jurassic Attack, which was like a monster truck. Right? That's what I'm always thinking.
That was.
So I really liked the start to this show.
Inside joke, Jurassic Attack. I thought this was an excellent opener. The action was great and fast paced. It was the exact definition of a hot opener. Dante Martin did some crazy stuff and was the standout of the match. It also probably took the beating of the match at the end with the 3V triggers, a one-winged angel, and then a BTEV trigger, which is essentially 3 people kneeing you in the head unprotected at the same time.
And so he got to look amazing, and it took like a super mega finisher to put him out, right?
Yeah.
So I think Martin looks good here.
Yeah, for sure. The aftermath promo by Callis was good. I love the line about the kill switch and how Kenny can't wait to kick it. That made me chuckle. Cage was fine, but the main issue is that we're getting Omega versus Christian on Rampage for the Impact title. I don't really want this match in the first place, so I sure as hell don't want it twice. It's the same match except for a lesser title. And why would they put this match on free TV when it's going to be on a pay-per-view?
I don't understand that either.
I hope they pull something. But here's what I would want, which I know it will not happen, but Omega and Christian have their match, and Omega wins, so then you can claim he beat Cage and he shouldn't face him. Then Hangman comes out and wants one last chance. He has to either jump through some hurdles or put his career on the line for something. And then you still get Omega Page, but he's having a baby, so no.
Yeah, I don't know why the decision to... There must be something they're going to do, because I don't get why you would do this match twice.
It's the opener.
Right.
And Baker and Velvet are main eventing, which I feel like it should be reversed.
That might be an indication that there's some sort of not clean finish or something that's going to break up that opening match, right? Because otherwise, wouldn't you think...
Right, they got like 3 title matches on that show, and
but I guess
it's only 1 hour, right?
It's not their title, so it's not that prominent. I don't know. Yeah,
right,
it's
but it's still a world title, technically. Yeah. And so, right, they only got a 1 hour show. I guess Miro and Fuego del Sol is going to be pretty short.
14 seconds, probably.
That should be shorter than the LA Knight match from NXT.
Should be similar, probably.
But yeah, so anyways, that was a great opener. Next, we get a promo from Malachi Black. He says he doesn't think he's the bad guy. He made good on everything he said. He says the dynamic flipped, and the man who speaks the truth is made the fool. He says Cody is lonely because he surrounds himself with people, and Black is lonely because he chooses solitude. He says Cody has 1 foot in the grave, and he can plant the next whenever. He says other stuff that I didn't get after. He speaks, like, pretty quick and, like, using a lot of metaphors and whatnot.
Yes.
But it makes it difficult to take notes, but just as a person watching it, he sounds really smart, he speaks really well, and I think his AEW run is off to a pretty good start. Although it seems like he might not be done with this Cody feud, unfortunately.
Right.
But I think he's off to a really good start.
I thought this was really good. I love the line about they're both kind of alone, and Malachi because he's alone.
But for different reasons.
And Cody, I think the implication is that you just surround yourself with suck-up people who... like, just agree with everything you say, so you're still kind of alone too, because none of these people are honest or real with you. Men. Right. So Black believing he's the babyface in the feud, I don't fully disagree. And I think he's kind of setting up a character here that can basically challenge anyone at any time, right? Is the vibe I got from here is like, I'm just going to be challenging people. And what you're saying about the way he talks, I agree. So he has the potential to unfortunately come across like the Fiend or EC3 because of the vocabulary and the tone, but it wasn't because
How dare you disrespect the Fiend?
He has a clear point to what he's saying, and I can actually get the point from it, where Fiend and EC3 just are like, I'm going to throw in all these humongous words and be really cryptic, and no one's going to really
understand.
No offense to them, but whatever. Nobody's really going to understand what we're saying, whereas Black does that, but has a point that's clear.
I understand the Fiend very much.
So I really like this.
Disrespectful.
Yeah, well. He's lame.
Next we get another promo, this time one from Miro. He says he was told to forgive when Lee challenged him, and after beating him, that's what he did. He says they are bribing Fuego del Sol with an AEW contract if he beats him. And then he says something else, and he says, this is the word of the Redeemer.
Yeah, I like his promo style.
I liked it too, but it's like, choose a worse opponent for him.
He's intense and scary, but he still makes me laugh. He still finds a little bit of humor almost every time. I love you say you love AEW and would die for it. Well, here's your chance. I thought that was a cool line, like, I'm going to kill you, right? Like, I thought that was cool. And I don't know how WWE gave up on this guy. We talked about it yesterday. He
started really good, right?
He's exactly the guy that they're now redesigning NXT to find, right? Is they want big guys like this who look like they could be a main eventer.
I said it was because he got over by himself, but they even stopped caring before that.
Yeah, they did. They seem to be looking for exactly what Miro is, so I think it's hilarious that he's somewhere else doing it. I think these promos are also the perfect length every week, and they're serious and intense, but with a tiny bit of humor. I think he's doing a great job.
Right, I feel like if they last too long, then you're kind of like, I don't know, you grow sick of it or something.
Yeah, no, these are...
You don't...
I still like them every week.
Yeah, I thought it was another good promo. If he wasn't a champion and the rankings were based off of quality of competition, though, he would be doing horrible.
Yes.
Because, I know why they're doing it, but they need to start doing a little better, in my opinion.
That's what this belt is, though.
Maybe give him something better for All Out.
This belt is about giving everybody a chance, and then you build to something more important on a pay-per-view.
I know it's a mid-card title, but I don't think it has to be like that.
No, but they've established it as the mid-card, and you're a fighting champion, and we just keep throwing challengers. Cody did it, right?
I would like for someone to win the title and just...
Alan did it.
And just say to hell with that and not be a fighting champion. I think.
Well, and funny. I mean, maybe the argument is it's like this is the heel tactic of Miro that I don't think so. Like he's getting easy talent, or easy competition, but he doesn't seem like that's his thing. But anyways, I'm okay with it.
I think it'd be funny if someone like MJF, obviously not because I think he's above it, but were to win the title and then just not defend it. I think that'd be kind of funny.
Nice.
And just only defend on pay-per-views.
Do that heel thing where you find ways to weasel out of every match sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Eva Marie, except you wouldn't have a wardrobe malfunction.
Right.
Next we get Daniel Garcia versus Darby Allin. Garcia says in a pre-match promo that he would have beaten Darby in the trios match if it weren't for Jon Moxley. That's rich.
Yeah.
Description, standard Darby Allin match, I thought, but as such, I thought it was a good showcase for Garcia.
And I thought that was strange, because you say standard Darby Allin match, and I agree. When I thought I was like, oh, okay, so this is, because Garcia's a small guy too, right? So this is where we get to see more of Allin, or of Darby Allin, wrestling a more competitive style match. But you're right, it was a classic Darby gets wailed on for most of it, right? But anyways, go ahead.
Lots of back and forth in the early going. Both try to get some pins, none gain the win. Drop toe hold by Darby, but Garcia gets a rope break before he can fully get in a Fujiwara armbar. Garcia throws Darby in the turnbuckles with a hammerlock applied. Darby goes up for a coffin drop, but is distracted by 2.0, and Garcia capitalizes. Hammerlock back suplex by Garcia for 2. Garcia applies a double arm submission while sitting on Darby and then moves over to repeatedly kick Darby in the head.
It looked really
while
good.
The submission's still applied, and Darby's able to eventually get a rope break with his leg. It looked really good, I agree. Garcia catches his Darby's springboard coffin drop kind of move into a sleeper, but Darby is able to get out shortly after. Pop over stunner by Darby, and he eventually gets a coffin drop for the win. And then after the match, 2.0 get beat up by Sting and Darby, so you're welcome.
I enjoyed this once it got going. I think it was kind of like a little showcase for Garcia, who showed a nice variety of attacks to Darby Allin's arm, and as well, he's Garcia's really fast. again, it was the standard Allen match, which surprised me because I thought when it's guys of similar size, they might let Darby work a little bit more, but they didn't, and I don't think it's a bad thing. So he gets dominated for much of it and picks up the win. I'm not sure, and I love 2.0, I'm not sure that they fit really well with Garcia. I need some sort of explanation because they don't seem to go together to me, but I'm glad to see them getting some TV time. So I thought this was a decent little match.
Yeah, I thought it was a good little match. Garcia looked good in what he got. I think he really benefited from the Darby Allin match style, where Darby takes most of the punishment, and Darby still got a solid win. I don't know if Sting being at 2.0, but I guess Darby is stuck with Sting now, so we gotta get used to it.
Seems like it. Yep.
Next, we get Death Triangle. Yeah.
We do.
Phoenix tells Pac they need to do something about Andrade, and Penta says he wants Andrade first. But Pac tells them not to worry about Andrade. He will worry about him, and they should focus on the tag titles because they're the best. Yes, Pac is right. Everybody listen to Pac.
That's what I just said in my
Pac
notes.
says they don't know Andrade. They don't like him, and they don't know why he's so obsessed with them, but it ends now. If he has an issue with that, Pac will face him anytime.
Yeah, I really like this. I agree with everything Pac was saying, because I just want him to face Andrade, and I want the Lucha Brothers to focus on the tag belts and get more involved at the top end of that division.
They need to.
I love Pac's intensity at the end. And like the first hour of this show is just me going, yep, really like this a lot. Really like this a lot. Like me loving everything that they did. Yeah, just any sort of, so Pac and Andrade, that's essentially a dream match for me. These are two of my top 5 favorite wrestlers in the world right now. So I am all for this.
Nice. So yeah, I thought this was great. The promo work was solid all in all, and it seems Pac will face Andrade, which will be great. And Lucha Bros possibly are refocusing on the tag titles, which is perfect timing for All Out, methinks.
Yep, I agree.
2 years ago, at the first All Out, they faced the Bucks in a ladder match for the AAA tag title, so why don't they face the Bucks again?
Yeah, I would love to see the Lucha Bros getting some attention as a tag
team. Yeah, and I think we were saying, like, Proud and Powerful have been underused. Lucha Bros, not as much, but, like, it's so surprising to me they have not been champions already.
We need a trios title. We're talking about this. We
Death
have
Triangle.
Too many tag teams. Too many singles wrestlers, so guess what a great way to deal with some of that is? Trios, right?
Right, and you have so many factions, HFO, Death Triangle, Best Friends, Dark Order, like...
And then you can start just pairing up random people sometimes, right? So
even Garcia and 2.0, which, like, they're lower down the card.
And
but, like,
I don't like a lot of belts in a company. These guys need trios championship, in my
Death
opinion.
Triangle should be the first champions and then just hold them forever.
There you go.
Just, like, at least a year. They should just kill everybody.
I would be okay with that.
They should destroy the Young Bucks and Omega and be like, ha, loser.
That would be a trios match. Pac and the Lucha Bros versus the Elite would be...
Yes, the Elite versus
Sign
Death
me
Triangle.
Take my money, as they say.
Is it not... It's not only the match I need, but the match I deserve.
That's right.
That it's just a necessary match.
That's the match we all deserve.
We all deserve that match, yes. Or Hangman, Uno, and Grayson versus the Bucks. Like, just instead of the 10-man tag, just that.
Yep.
Like, just those 6. Next we get another trios match. Was it as good? No. Best Friends represented by Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta, and Chuck Taylor, because Trent is injured, and that makes me sad.
Have we been given any explanation why Wheeler Yuta's a best friend, or no?
Nope.
Okay, I didn't think so. I just didn't know if I missed it.
HFO is Hardy and Private Party. And, oh my god, Private Party are still super boring.
They're not great. But anyways.
So this is a decent 6-man tag with no real stakes, but decent action, I guess. Hardy deletes any hand pocket attempts by Cassidy. He's like, when Cassidy's trying to put his hands in, he does like the delete thing to get rid of it, which I thought that was kind of funny.
That was entertaining.
Until Cassidy puts one of Hardy's hands in his pockets, which, I mean, okay, that's something.
Yep.
Isn't that special? Side effect by Hardy for 2. Cassidy mocks Hardy and does a lazy splash from the bottom rope for 1.
He actually like climbs down to the bottom to do it, which was funny.
He does like the lazy and then just falls off of the rope.
Yep.
And it does only get 1 count, which you would expect, but I thought that was kind of funny. Silly string on Yuta by Private Party, which I was like, I saw like one of them on the apron. Yuta was there and like, silly string.
It's why that move bugs me, right? Because it takes so much to set up that you're right, you see it coming.
Right. Double dropkick to Private Party by Yuta. Bunny and Statlander argue after Bunny interference until Nyla Rose attacks Statlander. Jack Evans takes Cassidy behind the ref's back. Topicon Hero by Taylor on the HFO. Taylor powerbombs Quen onto Cassie and hits Cassie with a sit-up powerbomb for 2. Jin and Juice to Yuta for a near fall, but Orange Cassidy breaks the pin. That move's pretty nice. Jin and...
It is.
After a bit of a frenzy, Hardy hits a twist of fate on Yuta for the win, surprisingly.
Yeah, I love the Gin and Juice. I thought they nailed it. As much as I'm not a huge fan of...
I thought this was a fine match. I didn't really care about it, though. HFO just isn't interesting. I think they've kind of ruined Private Party and TH2 for me. I also think Best Friend should have won because Yuta could use a big win, whereas Hardy does not need one.
Because they keep talking about how great Yuta is, and then he keeps losing, right? So I don't quite get... There's a disconnect there. Commentary always try and put him over, but he never wins.
Right.
So I don't know. I thought the in-ring action was pretty good, I guess, but there was so much going on so many people at ringside, so many things getting involved.
Yeah, it's just like...
Commentary even had to mention it during and after the match, right? Like, there's like a dozen people there at ringside or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Because HFO is just full of lower card.
And neither of these groups are being pushed right now, so I just thought this was like an okay middle of the show match, but too much extracurricular stuff going on for me for this one.
Yeah. Next we get an Andrade El Idolo interview. He says Pac is very ungrateful, and Chavo says Andrade has only shown respect and given them great things, and this is the thanks they get. Chavo says Pac will find out who is the boss at All Out. Fine promo from Andrade and Chavo, and this will be a great match. Worthy addition to All Out.
So this was fine, and you know I love Andrade. He's one of my favorites, but his presentation since getting to AEW has just been kind of okay. Like, I don't love Chavo as his mouthpiece. I mean, it's better than...
And the only match he had the worst ring attire I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's better than Vicky Guerrero. And the angle with Death Triangle doesn't feel super inspired. Like, I'm here for it because I love all of the competitors in any match they want to throw together. But, like, if I'm just talking about the actual build, it's okay.
I don't know. I kind of like it because it's like he wants to form as a great faction, I guess. And I see why. But wouldn't you want to include Pac? You could, like, just force him to be the TNT champion, right? And then, like,
I don't... So...
And form Death Rhombus.
And then I can also... It's an easy comparison to make with the way Malachi Black's been presented since arriving, which I think is a much stronger presentation.
Yeah, that's the issue with bringing them both in at the same time. You can kind of just compare it like that.
On the other hand, I wasn't... Like, almost nobody liked how Miro was brought in, right? And they've clearly recovered that. So I'm not... And it's not as bad as that. Like, I'm not disliking Andrade's treatment as much as I disliked Miro's in the beginning, but I think
How dare you disrespect Octavian? He is a god.
It could be stronger. But anyways, but at the end of the day, this is setting up a dream match for me, and it could be a match that could steal any show it's on, as far as I'm concerned.
Miro may be God's favorite champion, but Kip Sabian is God's favorite Kip Sabian.
Sure. So anyways, I'm excited for the match that this is leading to, but I don't think Andrade's treatment has been the star quality he deserves since arriving.
I kind of like the storyline, but...
Yeah, I don't hate it. I just wish it was a bit bigger, because he's a major debut for me, or major star.
FTR and Proud and Powerful package, mostly just Proud and Powerful speaking, if I'm being honest. But they said it was for the feud, so...
Yeah, no, it was just Santana, really.
Right. Ortiz says every time they face adversity, they face it head on. Santana says they're coming for blood and they aren't going anywhere. That was kind of like, there was a bit more than that, but that was the gist of it.
Yep.
Another solid promo from them. I'm looking forward to the rematch, which I assume will take place at All Out or close to it.
Yep.
I feel like it could go on there, and I feel like it could be cool to have another tag match on there, because like,
should be awesome.
They are the place where tag team wrestling does kind of matter. So
for sure. I like the style of these videos where it's like the wrestlers talking over top of cool music and then some highlights of their actions sort of mixed in with it. I thought Santana...
I did get to see the skin.
I thought the more blood and the injury to
so great.
Dash,
so
whatever
nice.
it is. Santana, I thought was awesome here. He continues to just crush promos lately, which I didn't know he was capable of. He feels real to me. Like, I think he benefited a bunch from working with Eddie Kingston a lot of the time across different promotions. I think it's helped his promos a bunch. And I really like.
I was gonna say when, but when LAX were feuding with the OGs.
For some,
the balcony promo.
I am loving the simple build for this feud with FTR, even incorporating like freak injuries that happened along the way. They're incorporating. So I think the payoff should be awesome. So I really like this.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the match. They're obviously gonna have I'm hoping there's like a stipulation for it, because they already did like maybe
I don't even know if they need one. Just this is a straight up match for these guys.
Yeah,
I don't know.
no.
I guess they could add something.
No, maybe they could do it for the third one. Pound Powerful win this one, because I think you're right, they maybe need another normal match, because the other one kind of probably ended abruptly.
Yeah, because it was basically just, I was going to call him Dawson wrestling for that match.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is. Dax, there you go.
Dax the Axe?
Dax the Axe, that's right.
Next we get Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero versus Chris Statlander with Best Friends. This is a solid TV match between two dependable hands, which lasted shorter than I expected.
Me too.
Roundhouse kick by Statlander, pounce by Rose, German suplex by Rose, moonsault from the apron by Statlander. They called it like a pendulum moonsault. She kind of like moves her leg to get in motion.
It was cool, yeah. She swings her one leg to get momentum and then hits it to the floor. It was good.
Uranagi on the apron by Rose as Vicky screams at Cassidy, and I wrote "ow, my ears" in brackets.
That's just the bulk of your gimmick. Like,
Cassie was just standing there, and she's just like, ah! And then so like it's just like it was, and looking at her face while doing it too, like it was just.
It's like they're trying to recreate the little Sting, Orange Cassidy moment that happened, right? They're trying to have Orange Cassidy amusingly interact briefly with people. This one didn't work. The Sting one was good.
Literally hurt me.
This one wasn't great.
Rose sets up for her knee drop, but Statlander walks on her hands away from the rope. And
that was cool.
Rose spears her while she's handstanding.
Yeah, so you get the counter to that devastating knee off the top with a handstand, which was cool, and then Nyla quickly counters that counter by spearing her as she's doing a handstand, which I thought was really cool too.
Powerbomb by Statlander, which was pretty impressive,
yeah.
And she is able to hit her, I think it's Area 451
She nailed
splash.
it. She drilled that.
By Statlander for the win. Yeah, she did.
A good short match, included some cool spots, and a big win for Statlander, who obviously is moving up the card now that she's fully healthy.
Yeah, I remember we liked her in ring a bit when she came around first, and they did face off at Revolution last year, and so yeah, I think she's definitely gotten even better in the ring.
She's like a powerhouse, but also like a kind of a quick power. I don't know. She's
not
got a different...
as good, maybe, but somewhat like a female Hangman Page.
Yeah, she's
like somewhat like powerhouse, also athletic.
Right. I was a little surprised by the win, first of all, and how quickly and cleanly she beat Nyla here.
Nice decisive win for her.
But I do think that building Statlander is smart. I just thought Nyla has looked good lately in a couple matches.
Yeah, that's what was surprising for me. She's off the back of a really recent challenge to Baker,
where I liked that match.
Yeah, so
but I guess
I'm okay with it. I'm not like mad about it.
If at the end of the day your goal is to build Statlander, then that's even better because Statlander just beat somebody quickly
and I think
who had
Rose
a competitive.
Is pretty easy to build back up if you need to, just as a monster.
So
right?
I like this. I thought Statlander looked good, and Nyla got a couple decent spots too.
It was much shorter than I expected, but it was good for what we got. They both got in some good moves, and I like the handstand spear sequence.
Right.
Statlander's forfeit the splash was on the mark. She got a decisive win here, so that's good for her if they are building her.
Yep.
Next we get a promo from the Young Bucks. Matt says last week they struck again and took out Hangman. He says in the match that happened earlier, they showed the entire world again that they are elite. He says they showed the entire division that they are the best and there's no one on their level. And Nick says being Jurassic Express will be as easy as a layup. It gets taken out by Luchasaurus as he's going for a layup, which is kind of funny.
It was.
And then Matt gets shoved as well. Like he's kind of like Luchasaurus blocks him.
Yes.
And Jungle Boy hits a layup.
It's called setting a pick in sport ball.
I don't care.
I know.
Another good promo from the Bucks, and I like Luchasaurus just coming in just like, brah.
Yeah, because I was honestly wondering what the point of this was, because it was just like them randomly talking, and then Luchasaurus showed up.
Luchasaurus will make everything better. Don't you worry.
This for sure was a little bit cheesy, but again, it's that light humor and it's a one-off, and it's not going to be back for 3 segments, and it's not going to be lengthy. It was just a quick little funny bit.
It's not going to be annoying.
They're continuing the basketball metaphor they've started, and Cutler at the end sort of getting put in his place quickly by the Bucks made me laugh a little bit. So I thought, yes, it was cheesy and kind of silly, but it made me laugh, and it's a one-off. So this is the amount of this kind of tone that I like.
I feel like it sounds like we're biased towards AEW, but like there really is a difference between this.
Oh, 100%. And I think most people would agree. Like, I listened to podcasts that their whole thing was starting and they're the NXT guys, but now they're like, we have to admit Dynamite's the cooler show right now. And it ebbs and flows, right? Like there might be
like
weeks.
NXT was doing really good in like July, right?
I have several. You can go back in our history. I have
Like June,
several
July.
times where I preferred NXT to Dynamite.
Right.
I wouldn't say the majority, but
I would say majority. Yeah, Dynamite I think has been better.
But
like NXT's gotten its spots. It's gotten its fair share.
I'm as fair and honest as I can be. I like what I like, and I tell you. And if I don't like something, I don't like it.
So we get a quick preview package for Baker versus Velvet. Velvet says Baker is making her name known, and she's not happy about Baker being on top. And then it was mostly just a recap of last week's promo segment. I thought it was a decent promo from Velvet, and I think it's weird this is the main event for Rampage. I know it's Baker's hometown, but I feel like then it would work even better for a hot opener.
Yeah, this was mostly Red Velvet, right, at this point, and I think she did a good job. I find she has interesting charisma, and there's something, I think they have something with her, and I have trouble putting my finger on it. I really like her. I think this is a simple story with Britt Baker so far, and I'm sure Red Velvet has no chance of winning, but I've enjoyed this. I think the intensity of her promos, she feels believable to me. I don't know if in ring she's as good. I think she's fine, but I think they have something with her, and I'm struggling to like define what it is, but I like her, and I think she has pretty massive potential, actually.
Yeah, I don't mind her. Next we get Britt Baker, DMD speaking. Velvet gets booed at the sheer mention of her name, which, I mean, they're in Britsburg, right? So it makes sense. Baker says she can't relate to Velvet's rise because she's always been on top. She says she can relate to Velvet's fearlessness because she wasn't afraid to step up to usher in a new era. Baker says Velvet may have a little hope if she was facing Baker anywhere else, but they're in Britsburg, and Baker practices the announcer saying that she's still champion, and then Velvet attacks and gets booed big time. I thought this was a good promo from Baker. It's funny to see how much the dynamics changed in Pittsburgh because Velvet got booed like she's a top heel just because they're in Britt's hometown. But I thought Baker spoke well again, and so I thought it was a good promo. This obviously isn't like a major title defense for Baker, but they're still building it well.
I thought the line about not being able to relate to the sort of rising to the top because she's always been there, right, was her thing. Like, you're right, I can't relate to you coming in as like a whatever and rising.
I didn't have to.
Because I've always just been amazing. I thought that was cool. And the crowd obviously loves her, so she kind of has to walk the line of heel and face, and somehow it still worked for me. I thought she did a really good job. Really good live promo. I thought Velvet's attack looked aggressive, like stuff like that, like little things. Like her attack looked real to me, like she pulled it off well. She sells anger. I hope the match is good because I kind of like the simple build for this so far for some reason.
Next we get a package for Cage and Starks. Not Christian Cage.
Nope.
Starks says it'll just be them man to man, and Cage says Starks is lying, and he is a man, he's a machine. And that's why they call him Cage. We were watching Lucha Underground, and so after his match, he said, They call me Cage because I'm a machine.
And then I turn to Jack and go, how do those two things connect? A cage isn't a machine, so anyways. But
right. No, if he was called a monster, then like they call me Cage because I'm a beast. You know, like that would have worked. But they call me Cage because I'm a machine.
Yeah. So this was a decent back and forth promo. It was pretty short. I thought it was good enough. Cage sounded believable. They give him very little to say because there's just something not right when he speaks in promos, unfortunately. It's
like the one thing missing from him.
I have started to enjoy that Hook has literally not said anything despite always being in all of these segments. He just stands there silently, which has somehow started to amuse me. So I thought this was fine. What about, I don't know what you thought. Did you already say?
I didn't really have much thoughts other than this is fine. Like nothing really noting.
It was pretty quick. Right?
Yeah. Next we get the Dark Warriors, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson with Colt Cabana versus the Good Brothers with Brandon Cutler. And they made a note of like the dissension in the ranks of the Dark Order because only Colt Cabana's out there.
Which you were offended by.
Shut up. That's just like, no, there is no dissension. They're a nice boy faction. There's no dissension.
And really the dissension, quote unquote, is only some of them wanting to help Paige when he's being beaten.
Right.
And the other two going, no, we're going to honor his...
Right, they
wishes.
Can't call that.
So I don't know if it's dissension.
Shut up, commentary. Yeah. Like, come on. And we also have, speaking of commentary, we have Scott D'Amore on commentary, which If I had to pick between him and Don Callis, I would pick Don Callis
I must have missed it because I didn't even notice them introducing him or anything.
No,
I was just there's his voice.
Showed it, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know. I must have been taking notes.
This is a solid TV tag, picked up more with the Dark Order in control as you expect, because Don Callis is in this match. Oh yeah, you got to hear their glorious theme song.
It is the worst theme probably in wrestling.
It doesn't even sound like a theme song. It's just slow and
the podium for me, and they all come from Impact, would be Good Brothers, Eddie Edwards, and Taylor Wilde. Those are my 3 least favorite themes right now.
There's another one that I really don't like. Oh, Ember Moon. Her theme song is garbage.
I can't think of it
once
offhand.
listened to it 3 times in a row when I was at school just to torture myself.
You do like to watch and listen to bad things on purpose.
It's so freaking bad. Shotzi's is bad. It's just a combination of a bunch of crap. But Ember Moon's, you can clearly hear. It's just so bad. But yeah, Good Brothers theme is
terrible.
It's an atrocity on my ears.
It is.
So Dark Order attacked them on the ramp, and so they hit it. And back once the match starts, they hit an inverted atomic drop kick combo. Cheap shot by Cutler, and Cabana attacks him afterwards and chases him up the ramp until he is attacked by Kaz, who drags Cutler away. A big boot by Gallows on the outside to Grayson. That's all you're gonna hear of Gallows, pretty much.
Punch, punch.
Punchy, uppercut, kick.
Punch, punch, cash, check, repeat. That is Gallows' mantra.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, I need to zip up my vest.
In the middle of a match.
Tornado DDT to Gallows off of Anderson by Grayson. So he kind of uses Anderson to hit a DDT on Gallows.
It looked cool.
Uranagi and a springboard Phoenix Senton by Grayson for 2. Kind of like the floating bro from Riddle.
Looked awesome.
Matt Riddle.
He's so good, man,
yeah,
honestly.
Grayson hits a belly-to-belly on Anderson and in the corner where Gallows sat. And then they do their signature where Uno hits a cannonball and Grayson hits a 450 splash over him. Simultaneously, and Grayson gets a 2 count for that.
Always looks good.
Uno throws Grayson into a suicide dive on Gallows, and so the finish comes when Gallows throws in a title belt to distract the ref, and takes out Grayson on the top turnbuckle, kind of crotches him. Anderson, because they were setting up for fatality, Anderson hits Uno with the gun stun, followed by Magic Killer on Grayson for the win.
Yeah,
the Good Brothers.
Dark Order got in some of their double team stuff, and I think Grayson had a really impressive flurry. I would have loved an even better showing for Grayson and Uno, but this is about what I expected. Gallows did almost nothing, so that is a smart play by the Good Brothers. Yeah. So this is, I wouldn't say it was bad. I really like one team and I really don't like the other one, so it's obviously not the result I wanted, but it is pretty much what I expected, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah. I thought this was fine overall. Obviously, much better than the Dark Order was in control. Gallows was basic as always. And Grayson was the opposite as he really shone in this match compared to everyone else.
He's awesome.
The Dark Order got their cool stuff in, but ultimately had to lose. And I think Uno and Grayson and anyone from the Dark Order, especially Hangman, would be an amazing trios champions.
Yep.
I think that'd be great. Even you could do John Silver and them.
Yep. Yeah, because Silver is super over, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Next we get a quick promo from the NWA Women's World Champion Camille.
Mm-hmm.
Camille talks about how she's hard-hitting, doesn't give a fook. Camille says Layla Hirsch is the underdog, clearly the underdog at the match in NWA Empower on Saturday, August 28th. Camille says that the whole world is going to watch Camille beat Hirsch. I thought it was a solid promo, and it easily helps AEW fans who don't watch NWA get to know her quick, just like this imposing big.
She is
powerhouse.
She I watch NWA, and I like this promo. She has a presence kind of similar to Jade Cargill, right? She's imposing, and she's really confident, and clearly looks like she can back it up. She's tall, she's jacked. I think this was a good introduction for the AEW audience that might not know her. I've been watching her for a while. She works a physical style, so I'm kind of quite interested in this match. I hope that Hirsch has a good showing. I hope it's not just a squash. But I think it's going to be a pretty cool physical battle between these two. Really, really different. Because when they stood face-to-face last week, right, it was basically
funny.
face to chest. Because Camille
almost
is
face to stomach.
Much, much taller than the 4'11" Layla Hirsch. But I'm interested to see how this match is put 4th. So
for sure,
I liked it.
Next we got QT Marshall's quote unquote apology. Oh my God! Think of a more pointless segment. Let's talk about it.
Can I just pat myself on the back? Because remember, I said this is exactly what's going to happen because he said there will be an apology. He didn't say he would apologize.
It could not be more pointless.
So I knew where this was going. Yes.
QT says that Tony should apologize to him, but if they waited for that, they'd be stuck here forever. QT says he'll apologize, but he's going to apologize for what he's going to do to Tony's son, Chris.
Grown, yep.
QT hits Tony's son, doesn't accept Tony's apology. QT hits a diamond cutter on Shivani's son, and Paul White comes out. And we know what's going to happen. And QT shoves Solo to White, and White hits a choke slam. He doesn't even, you know how Undertaker and Kane, they do it, and they just kind of slam him down? Yeah. But you know how Big Show used to do it? He used to kind of, put them down harder? He didn't even do that.
Well, he's a old man now.
Poor Aaron Solo got sacrificed for no reason. They just made this worse. I'd rather see Cody versus QT than QT versus Big Show. Honestly. He didn't even do the chokeslam like he used to.
I hope that's not where this is going. I don't want QT. I don't want Shivani's son. I don't want Big Show. I didn't want this segment. And I'd hoped after several weeks of this that they'd just forgotten, right? Because he was supposed to get the apology 3 weeks ago. So I was like, all right, they just dropped this. And I complain when WWE does that sometimes, but when it's something I don't want to see, I'm kind of okay with it. But they didn't forget. This felt like
and it's so low down the card too.
This felt like a WWE segment where the old guy comes out on top because he's big and he's a legend, so he has to destroy everybody. I didn't like this. I don't know who's saying that QT should keep getting segments and stuff. I don't know, obviously, because he's probably really good friends with the brass of this company, but I'm not sure who's liking this. I don't want this. Get this QT experiment over with, please.
Failed to see any point.
And this better be a one-off for Shivani's son. I don't need him on the roster in any way, shape, or form. They're adding 20 guys a month, it feels like, and they already can't get around to putting all these guys on TV. Stop adding people to the roster. Anyways, Go ahead.
Unless it's Adam Cole.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously they're gonna make exceptions to a few people, but they need to slow down on signing people, or else they're gonna have to do a bunch of releases as well because they can't.
And no one wants that. I think WWE is a great example. No one wants to see that.
And I think AEW is gonna avoid it as long as they can, just because they can always make that comparison. You're having record profits and you're laying off people constantly. We're still a fledgling company in the first couple years,
and we're trying to keep these people on boat.
They're not releasing anybody. Right. I think they may not have renewed a couple contracts along the way. I'm pretty sure they did.
But they're not cutting people. They're not cutting people in massive hordes.
Right.
And just
it's
all of a sudden,
your contract's up, we're not renewing it.
Or sorry, we have a ton of people. Right. We can't really afford to keep you, but we'll keep you until your contract's done.
Hey, we just pushed you and you just had a pretty prestigious belt and now you're gone. Bronson Reed, right? Yeah. Because you make too much money or whatever it is.
Right. And they can't possibly need budget cuts. And they released freaking Bray Wyatt. No one is safe.
Well, some of them I think they might try and re-sign for less money. I think that's part of their...
I think that's all that's just stupid.
I know. Anyways.
So matches for Rampage this Friday. We got 3 championship matches. We got Omega and Christian Cage for the Impact title. Miro and Fuego del Sol for the TNT title. If Fuego del Sol wins, he gets an AEW contract. And Baker vs. Velvet for the Women's Championship. And on Dynamite next week, we'll get a tag team championship match. Young Bucks vs. Jazz Express. That looks pretty good.
That should be fun.
Shawn Spears vs. Sammy Guevara, which also said plus a major announcement. So it's interesting. Yeah. And that should be a solid match. And Darby Allin and Sting versus 2.0 Tornado Tag Match. No, thank you.
Maybe. I'll take a maybe on that. You never know.
No, it stings.
3 of the 4.
I say no, thank you.
Okay. You're entitled to that.
I will automatically say no thank you to any Sting match they throw at me. And our main event, which we are now onto, is Chris Jericho and Wardlow in the Labors of Jericho Chapter 4. Wardlow doesn't have a count out, I'm pretty sure. And MJF is at ringside.
Yes. That was the... it's part of my comments at the end, but I'll stick it in now. This felt like a weird spot for this particular match, right? Of all of you're building, you're bringing in Juventud Guerrero, you're bringing in Nick Gage, and then the fourth one is Wardlow. A guy that works here that
Wardlow should have been
that no offense hasn't accomplished
Wardlow
a ton.
Wardlow and Nick Gage.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's almost like did they have someone cancel and they needed to fill in a spot? I didn't see the logic of this. But anyways, go ahead.
So it was a decent match, a bit drab for a main event though. Corner punches right off the bat by Jericho. Wardlow turns
Foreshadow.
around. Yeah. And pounds Jericho with corner stomps. Top rope diving axe handled by Jericho. Oh my god, it looks so lame.
Such an 80s move, man.
Yeah, but even Velveteen Dream, who was doing it
classic Macho
recently,
Man.
he did it better though.
Yeah.
Like this one literally just hit him with like one hand. It's like
a slap from the top.
It's the axe handle equivalent of high-fiving someone on the back to break up a pin.
Yeah.
Yes. A codebreaker for 1 count by Jericho, which I did not like that because codebreaker is freaking dope and he's used that like to win stuff.
Yes, I think did JR say something about that?
Yeah, he's like he's won championships with that. Like, yeah, and I get Wardlow's big, but like, come on.
Yeah.
I would say he should kick out one at the Lion Salt because that's just a springboard moonsault.
I don't think Jericho is going to be doing a lot of Lion Salts. Remember, he almost died doing one a couple months ago. I'm not sure how much more we're going to see the Lion Salt.
Corner shoulder blocks and uppercut by Wardlow. Wardlow batters Jericho on the barricade apron ring post. At one point, he like rolls Jericho in quick to break the count, which I thought was kind of funny because like he doesn't have to break the count, or he can't technically. Right. Powerbomb back in the ring by Wardlow. Another power by Wardlow. And Wardlow's still powerbombing Jericho after the commercial break. And by the sounds of it, he had been doing it for a while, which I think that's kind of funny. Just a million powerbombs. An F10 by Wardlow. Jericho counters the Wardlow's knee drop move on the walls of Jericho, which it really looked like Wardlow didn't even try to like actually hit it. Didn't even try to fight that counter.
Right.
Like, it didn't really look that.
It wasn't.
It looked very conceited. Jericho walks slightly closer to the ropes so that MJF can break the eyes, and he gets ejected.
That bugged me, man.
Yeah. And as MJF's being ejected, Jericho hits Wardlow with an awful baseball bat, cheap shot, and a juice effect for the win. What a babyface, taking advantage of the distraction. Post-match, Shawn Spears attacks Jericho from behind. Guevara comes out to make the save and attacks Spears, but is eventually taken up by Wardlow. MJF applies salt of the earth on Jericho's injured arm, but Jake Hager comes out to chase it with the heels. MJF says Jericho may have gotten the match, but he doesn't know the stipulation. MJF says he'll take away the thing that has helped Jericho win throughout the labors. And that is that there will be no Judas effect and no Judas theme. So if he uses it, MJF automatically wins and he'll come out to dead silence, which I think is a really smart move if you're the heel. Because like, you're taking away something for the fans too, right? Yep. Like, sing along. I wonder if they're still going to sing anyways.
They might.
I think that'd be
and then, well, imagine... So I think you have to introduce MJF first. He's in the ring, and then when Jericho comes out and the crowd's still singing, like the reaction and facials of MJF would be awesome, right?
Yeah. And MJF says he's Jericho's successor, and there's a new king in town. What were your thoughts?
I wasn't a huge fan of this main event. I mean, there was a couple awkward.
I was kind of similar.
There was a couple awkward spots. Yeah. One on the outside, one during a power bomb.
And it just wasn't super interesting for me.
It was slow, and it was basically Wardlow walking around between power moves, which is kind of his style, but Jericho really didn't counter or offer much here, right? Jericho, that spot where he had to move over to the ropes for no reason other than to allow the eye rake. Remember the other time
that happened, and it was like way worse?
It was kind of annoying. Even in the storyline of these matches for Jericho, again, this one seemed out of place. This isn't the build to the this is the final barrier stopping Jericho from getting his hands on MJF.
Right,
and it's
he wins with like a bad shot and an elbow.
So I wonder if this was partly to create some tension between Wardlow and MJF going forward, like because they teased it in the pre-match promo.
Remember they teased that like a while ago, but then they just joined the Pinnacle?
And he's going to probably have problems with Wardlow not picking up the win here, so I'm wondering if that's something they're planting seeds for later, because Dynamite or AEW does that, right? Where it might not be next week, it might be 6 weeks from now where they make reference to this and go from there. As for the aftermath, I'm like pretty much numb to post-match beatdowns and people running in at this point, because it just happens all the time. It no longer really adds anything for me. So I was disappointed in this main event as a whole, basically. And I actually have been pretty interested in, because I've kind of thought the Pinnacle Inner Circle stuff's been going on way too long, but these sort of trials for Jericho has gotten me a little bit interested, but this one was disappointing, I thought. What about you?
Yeah, it was an okay match. I expect much better from a main event. It wasn't bad, nothing really of note, though. It wasn't great. The fifth stipulation is fine, I guess, but I think that fifth labor should have been something else, and MJF is kind of like the reward for completing all the labors, right? I don't think MJF should be included as a labor. I'm surprised that the match won't be at all out, but it looks like it's getting pretty stacked as it is, and maybe they wanted to do all the labors in succession, I guess, right?
I guess, yeah.
overall an okay main event, but far from the best.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the show as a whole?
This was a tough one for me to rate because the first hour I pretty much liked everything, and the show was just flying by for me. So match-wise, loved the opener, but then kind of most of the other matches were either really short or not compelling storyline-wise, right? Like Garcia Allen was good enough. Statlander Rose, Dark Order Good Brothers were decent matches, but they felt really short, right? The HFO match just had too many other people involved, and it didn't feel important at all because they're just sort of like, they feel like they're just the leftover parts that people put together, right? That faction. The main event I thought was just okay. So in ring, I thought this was a below average episode of Dynamite.
Except for the opener. The
opener was awesome. Segments, I think, where this shined a bit brighter this show. The opening MJF Wardlow segment I thought was really good. The Elite Christian stuff was even entertaining for me. Malachi Black promo was good. Miro had a good vignette. And Britt and Red Velvet I thought did really good job. Death Triangle Andrade stuff was fine, but I still didn't have a problem with it. I thought Camille was good in her introductory segment. The only thing that needed to go was the QT Marshall stuff. But other than that, so it was weird. I really liked almost every segment and wasn't that thrilled with in-ring. So I think that works out to this show being a B, because I enjoyed a lot of it, and really the first hour, including the super hot opener. And really only the QT segment was bad, and everything else was fine to good. The main event was not a high point. That would have boosted it up for me if the main event were better. So I gave this show just like a B. It was good, but not great.
Yeah, the first hour of the show was great. The opening trios match was awesome. Great showcase for Dante Martin. Another win for the Elite. Kind of odd we're now going to be getting 2 Cage Omega matches, but they'll probably pull something. And we're getting Bucks Jurassic Express, which that'll be pretty good. Malachi Black and Miro both had good promos. Garcia Allen was a good short match, and Garcia got to look good against Darby, who took most of the punishment. Death Triangle's promo was good. I liked the prospect of a Pac Andrade match, and I like them starting to steer our Lucha Bros back on course. The other trios match between the Best Friends and HFO wasn't great. Too much and not enough to care about.
Right.
Too much stuff and then you just don't care about it.
That
any
is
of
right.
it really.
A lot of things
Andrade's
that don't
promo
matter.
was good enough, and I'm excited for that match. Power and Powerful, another short but good promo. I like Statlander Rose, even though it was pretty short. Young Bucks had another good promo, and Britt Baker's was good as well. I like the Dark Order portions of the Impact Tag Title match. And the QT segment I don't even, why is it even here?
I don't know.
The main event was kind of lackluster for a main event and for the last labor before the MJF match. And it didn't feel like a main event. I'm going to have to agree with the B grade for this show.
Yeah, right? So some things that, nothing that was really, really bad other than maybe the QT, and the rest was kind of hit and miss, I guess. So yeah, B overall, decent show, not great. That's going to lead us into our next segment where we're going to talk about some other wrestling stuff in what we call any other wrestling business. And I think this week, just because it's a special week, we're going to start out with talking about
AEW Rampage.
Our AEW Rampage experience.
Keep the AEW train going.
From last night, right? So we'll just go right back into some more AEW. So
It's going to be more like just results, and we'll give our opinions on the matches mostly.
Yeah, which is where I feel things may evolve to eventually. Like detailed. I might start with Impact, start cutting it back a bit. But anyways, we'll see.
I'll probably keep doing match notes for Dynamite and whatever. But
I probably will too for NXT.
So
they're getting briefer.
We got the 4-man commentary team. Jericho's he's excited.
He is overhyped at the beginning of this, and I have a lot of thoughts on the 4-person commentary team, but I will.
Yeah.
And actually, it got better as it went on. For this opening match, I had some issues, but I'll hold on to those for a minute.
Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega for the Impact Wrestling World Championship. There was no Justin Roberts ring announcing, which kind of sucked.
Yeah, he definitely adds something, right? For sure.
Just the way he does that, I really like. Dasha, I think it was. She's fine, but she's not as good. And I noted the ring apron and the barricade cloths look cool.
Yep.
It's black, and then it's got these flashes of blue and orange with the Rampage logo in the middle. It looks really nice, I think. And we don't get commercial breaks.
Oh my goodness. So we are watching this obviously in Canada. So one of our major sports networks was carrying it, but they were carrying it only online or on their app. So we were streaming the app. the television.
We got to watch
Wow.
like the wrestling usually reserved for the commercial breaks.
So during matches, yes, if it was a commercial break, we just got the
But
wrestling
then if
still
it's
happening.
like after the match, we would get the Rampage theme on a loop.
So yeah, all we got, if it was a commercial break that didn't happen during a wrestling match, then we got the Rampage logo and the little bit of music on an infinite loop, which I couldn't decide if that was worse than commercials or not, but it was an experience. So yeah, because at one point, I think it was the Christian Kenny match, right? There was a little spot where I'm like, why is this section in particular so boring? And then they're like, and welcome back from the commercial break. And we're like, oh, because they were just slowing it down for the commercial. But anyways, talk about this first match.
So Christian Cage ended up winning by pinfall.
Yeah, which, and I'm not going to toot my own horn. I'm not surprised because I said to you right before the match started, right, that I have a feeling that this is the beginning of getting some belts off him. So I actually
they need to do that, though.
I actually called Christian winning this right before the match started, to be honest.
I thought the match was okay. I didn't love it, but it wasn't bad. Commentary is way too crowded with 4 people, and there wasn't any play-by-play, which you were talking about.
Yep, that's coming up.
It was hindered a bit by the fact that we saw them wrestling when it's usually a commercial break. Like, I don't really want to see that, because it kind of just, like, it takes you out of it, because, like, obviously they're not really doing anything.
Because it was noticeably dull, and I was like, what are they doing? And then, because I think it was Excalibur welcomed us back from the break or
and
whatever.
Mark Henry would be the one I would eliminate if I had to choose one. Because I think 3 people is fine.
He did not have a lot of insight, really, and at times...
Throughout the show, I didn't really love him.
He also talks really slowly and softly at some points, and normally we're taking notes and we'll pause and rewind, but you can't.
Said he throws the question over to Mark Henry. I'm like, really? Of the commentators you have with you choose to ask that question to Mark Henry.
And we can't, with this app, pause or rewind or anything.
Which is partly why I'm not really doing match notes, and because I feel like we don't want this to be too long.
Yeah, so honestly, I was pretty bored for the first...
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
Half to 2/3 of this match, partly blaming the commentary team.
Yeah.
3 of them, meaning not Excalibur, we're talking...
Excalibur is like such a... He does such a good job with the play-by-play, right?
So the other 3 talked so much that he barely did any play-by-play. There was almost no calling of moves in this first match.
The only line from him, I remember he was plugging AEW shop.
He was constantly plugging either merchandise or upcoming events was basically all he did in this first match. And it kind of took me out of it. It's the same as when... I find when I go to watch live events in person wrestling, you kind of notice how much without commentary, right? It doesn't, because commentary sort of distracts you from the fact that this is people fake fighting in front of you, you know what I mean? And it provides a little bit of,
like,
it adds
still
something.
Fun to go, but
is.
I know what you're talking about. It's like...
Oh, I still love going live. It's just different.
When we went to TakeOver, it's really weird, like, I didn't get to hear Mauro Ranallo.
Right,
like,
and a good play-by-play person adds a lot, and Excalibur, and I think Excalibur currently is the best. And
he's really good, and he didn't really get to do what he does. Like,
right.
And I think when Jericho was heel and he was on commentary last year, it was really good. Yep. I remember loving that. He was
trying way too hard at the beginning of this one.
And he wasn't as good. And Taz is fine. Like, Taz is
And the other thing
enough.
I noticed was, despite Taz being a heel on Dynamite, all 4 of them were babyface commentators, which was also annoying.
So I think Taz should have been the buffer there, but he wasn't.
Regarding the match, I thought the finishing sequence was good. The unprettier on the chair, I thought looked really good.
Omega sold that pretty good.
I wasn't totally surprised by the outcome. Like I said, I predicted it. But honestly, I thought this match was underwhelming. And the final few minutes were entertaining, but the rest, I wasn't. Rarely am I so unimpressed by an Omega match. This isn't doing a great job of selling me on them having a match again in the near future. I guess the flip side of that is, well, maybe they're saving something for that match. Well, I mean...
Are they?
And I would suggest you saved way too much then, because you could have, if you want to save a little bit, fine, but I was not...
saves, Christian's maybe going to bust out something, but
I thought this was... okay, close to a good match, but as your opening match on a new show not your championship, a championship, I thought this was...
A championship you've made a decent effort to seem lesser than your
And
title?
with the best bout machine versus the guy that nobody can outwork. I mean, this was not that. So I was not super impressed by it.
I think he's been outworked numerous times.
So I'm hoping that they ramp it up for the quote-unquote rematch, because this didn't do much to sell me on a future one, to be honest.
I thought the finish was fine, I guess, and I'm really not a fan of him winning, because I don't like him.
Right.
He's kind of old, and it kind of undoes the work, I think, that they've done to make Omega this unstoppable force, whether it's through nefarious means or not. He's been unstoppable.
But it has to stop at some point, right?
So I don't think this is the point where it had to stop, though.
All of these companies
agree,
need their belt back at some point.
Not at this point, though.
Guess.
I think he should not be losing to Christian Cage of all people. Like, he's been able to put away, like, John Moxley, Ray Phoenix, like, top current guys, and he falls to Christian Cage.
It kills my dream of having Josh Alexander
and you
Omega
could argue,
in
like
an
you said, he could still
banger.
do it on Christian, but that takes away a bit for me, because Omega's just such a dirtbag heel. Like, I feel like a top babyface like Josh Alexander would really benefit from beating him.
He would have.
Or, like, even Moose. Like, if they had done it back then on Moose, sure, I would have liked him to reign long, but at least it would have been Moose.
And I'll talk about it when I talk about Impact. It also was a little bit strange that they were promoting it so hard when they're promoting their championship being defended on a debut of another company, which was kind of an odd
If I had to
feeling.
pick someone to beat for Omega for the title, I would start with someone on the roster and also never pick Christian ever.
Right.
But I guess this is kind of cool for the whole Forbidden Door thing, because this is the second non-AEW title change on AEW programming.
There is that, right? They're saying, like, hey, you kind of need to pay attention because titles could change hands
there's
anyway.
the IWGP US title, and then there's this.
Yep.
So the match was, like, meh, but if this is what I'm in store for All Out, count me all out on this match.
Oh, nice.
Next we get a Christian Cage post-match interview with Mark Henry. All I wrote was Mark Henry kind of sucks.
He was not good in this capacity either, and the only other thing that you pointed out I didn't even notice was that Orange Cassidy was lurking in the background of this, right?
Nothing even came of that.
So there was no
literally
mention.
Nothing here.
Not even mentioned that he was there.
Fuego del Sol got a package, and then we're up to Fuego del Sol versus Miro for the AEW TNT
and Fuego's
Championship.
package was just about him working really hard and wanting a contract, basically, right? Sort of thing. Yeah.
And his record is 1-39.
Yeah, impressive.
Which that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And Miro does retain via submission.
Right.
I thought this was fine. It was exactly as expected in terms of outcome.
Yep.
I think Miro should have dominated from the outcome and won in like 10 seconds, but it was just close enough, right?
Yeah.
Not much else to say about essentially a squash.
No, we were told that basically. So Fuego del Sol hit 3 tornado DDTs?
Yeah, like 2 or 3.
And that was it basically, and we're told like Miro's susceptible to them, which I was like, he is? But anyways, so yeah, that was the big thing. Like Fuego started off on fire and just hit 3 DDTs, and then boom, it was over. So yeah, this is what I think it needed to be. Miro winning in a dominant fashion against a guy that's 1-39, right? Regardless of what the stakes are, Miro had to kill this guy, and he did. And then I thought, nice touch at the end. Miro grabs Fuego's contract that he was fighting for and just rip it up right in the middle of the ring, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, this. Anyways, this match was, I was gonna say, my favorite match on the show, but it was only like a 2-minute match. So, but anyways,
not exactly boding well.
No.
Tony Khan does send out Sammy Guevara after the match, who's apparently friends with Fuego, and he gets a contract anyways.
So this, I was reading about it after, was one of my annoyances, because all of this has been revealed on online things that I don't follow.
I didn't even know. I watched BT
It's been part of BTE and Sammy Guevara's vlog, apparently.
I have watched BTE maybe 3 times in my entire life.
And we're wrestling nerds, so I don't think that they can count on people keep staying caught up with this stuff. They need to at least throw in the odd little 30 seconds, like, hey, this happened online.
Like, and the only one of them was just because it was episode 200, and Matt and Nick Jackson had like a Falls Count Anywhere match,
right? Which
was pretty cool. And they did like a destroyer into the pool.
Oh right.
But that and like, so I've watched it like maybe 3 times in the entire in my entire life. So I don't watch it, but.
Because I thought this felt really random to me. That
it was
Sammy Guevara is coming. Yeah, that Fuego had no idea this was happening, and that this was legit. It did look
pretty real, like his reactions. Good for him, I guess.
Yeah, that's great.
Kind of makes the stipulation meaningless.
Happy for somebody to always get employment, so good for him.
Yeah. We got promotion for next week's Dynamite matches. Darby Allin or Sting up in the rafters, which is so great. We're making Darby more like Sting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they're exactly the same, we're told.
They are exactly the same.
So, there you go.
Yes, we get an advertisement for AEW Rampage, The First Dance. That's pretty lame. I don't think anything's gonna happen.
No.
Probably won't watch it, actually.
No, nothing of note's happening. Which I saw that Tony Khan's basically saying, like, a lot of people are asking blah blah blah.
They know what to expect.
That's a good question to ask, right? So it's happening, obviously.
It is happening. If there's no cult of personality, I'm gonna actually be mad.
Care less than probably almost anyone, unfortunately. I just don't care. Again, I don't want to see Michael Jordan come back when he's 48 and play basketball. I don't. Anyways, that's just me. I'm weird. I don't need these returning guys who've had their time and did well and are not in their prime anymore.
Old, though? Isn't Michael Jordan like super old?
Yeah, but I mean I can't compare him to super old Michael Jordan. I'm saying late 40s Michael Jordan.
Punk might be fine because he was wrestling like 10 years ago, and
which I watched all of it and enjoyed a bunch of it. I just don't need him back. Take that spot and give me somebody new. But that's not what's best for business and their ratings, so I get that. It's just me personally. I'd
replace him with Christian.
I don't need to see these guys come back.
Or I'd replace Christian with him,
even though I liked Punk, but I wasn't a huge Punk fan, but I liked him. I just don't need it.
I haven't seen Punk, so I would like to see Punk.
This is my standard rant. Stop bringing people back, but they never will.
I need cult of personality.
Sure.
Then we got a Britt Baker Red Velvet split screen interview with Mark Henry. They spoke well. Mark Henry just sucks.
I didn't think Red Velvet was as good as she usually is here, and I'm a pretty big fan of hers for unknown reasons. I don't even know myself. I just think there's something about her. I thought Britt was great here, obviously, and she's in a tough spot trying to be a heel in an arena where everybody loves her, like she's the biggest deal there. So that's a tough thing for her to do.
She's probably one of their best success stories.
I thought she was good.
Yeah, and Mark Henry
he's not good.
No.
Nope.
Our main event, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD versus Red Velvet for the women's championship.
So part of this was that Britt's still selling the arm injury, right? She does have a legit broken wrist, so that played into this I think a little bit, not storyline and like in real life to me.
Baker's very popular.
She is over, as they say.
And she's wearing the white and gold. Those be them winning colors.
Always a quality choice, yes.
Those look awesome. Ask Seth Rollins. It looks really good, yeah. And Baker retains via submission with a lefty lockjaw.
Yeah, she had to go with her offhand for the lockjaw due to the cast or apparatus on her
and then
right
after the match, Chris Statlander saves Red Velvet from an attack, but gets attacked by somebody, and it's Jamie Hayter. Don't know who that is. Me neither.
I just remembered the name, and
I recognized the name, and I thought it was someone that we saw in the Indies, but then I was like, oh,
she was in Dynamite, was she not?
She was on AEW like 2 years ago.
Right.
They said.
So I did not think this match was great. Like, I thought it was okay. I was definitely hoping for better. I think maybe part of it is that the injury is legit and that it was affecting Britt Baker somewhat, and that I don't think Red Velvet, as much as I do think she has massive potential, she's not good enough to compensate and carry that.
Her moonsaults look super cushioned.
She's a very tiny woman.
Even the top rope one, yeah. It just
so she
like
runs into some of that.
Lightly landed on the. It's not her fault.
No, she runs into some of that. Her offense does not look super impactful because she is so
small. That was the issue with Riho. He was like 98 pounds.
Yes, and I also had that issue with Kairi Sane a little bit, except her
elbow drop. The elbow was awesome.
There was a couple of awkward spots. Velvet still clearly needs some seasoning, but I think she has lots of potential. I thought Britt looked pretty good. This wasn't her best match, obviously. Nothing really in this got me super excited, and I was looking forward to it. Like, I wanted to see this match. The surprise appearance of Hayter at the end doesn't move the needle for me.
It doesn't do much for me if I don't really know who she is.
I had little recollection of her other than that, but I'm just complaining about them bringing CM Punk back, so I'm happy with that they didn't bring in, like, Mickey James or something, right? It's a new talent, and sure, I'm saying I don't quite know who that is, but I'd much rather get to know a new talent than have somebody repackaged that's kind of past their prime. So I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying I didn't really recognize her. So I thought, honestly, this match was kind of underwhelming as well.
I'll wait to see if Punk is good or not.
Sure. Overall thoughts?
So I thought this was a fine main event, but the result was never in doubt. Baker was... She was obviously hindered by the injury, but she did as good as she could. Velvet was fine, and just her offense just didn't look super impactful some of the time. And again, not her fault, but that's just
She may have been nervous too. This was a huge spot to be in, right? Championship match on a brand new show in the main event. She's relatively young, so
Right, she was getting like booed.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny. Chris Statlander came out to save her, right? And then she got booed.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. The Jamie Hayter reveal is, I guess, interesting, but doesn't really concern me at the moment, just because I have no memory of her at all.
Right. Apparently, and that's surprising because you remember.
Yeah, like I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of weird in the early goings of AEW, like before Dynamite, like there's like a million different people. Like there's like the Strong Hearts, like where have they been?
I know.
You know,
Chima.
like, right, and like Kylie Ray was there, and like Awesome Kong. And, like, the early goings of AEW is just like it's a blur for me at point.
It was almost like before they started giving out contracts, right? It was like just trying everybody and then giving contracts after the fact.
Yeah,
sort
so
of,
that's kind of why my memory's hindered there, because there's just so much like.
Right.
Thoughts on the show?
I can't say I love this debut, Rampage. The opener and the main event kind of under-delivered. Neither of them were bad, right? But their championship matches on a new show.
None of them were particularly interesting.
Right, I was hoping for one that I loved. The Miro match was basically what I wanted, but that was just a tiny part of the show overall.
I can't say I was expecting Christian's match to be good, though.
I was hoping for better than it was.
I was hoping, but...
And then you combine underwhelming matches with some really bad commentary, especially in the opening match. They need to revisit this 4-man booth idea. I thought this was just an okay hour of an AEW product, right? Like, if this were 1 hour of Dynamite, I wouldn't be that thrilled. Still, it was a big card for the first show. Not as strong in ring as I hoped. My instincts said a C+, but I bumped it up to a B- for making a debut and giving me another hour of wrestling every week. So I gave it a B-, almost a C+, which is pretty low for me.
Yeah. It was a decent start to the Rampage legacy, I guess, but not really like the bang you hope for.
I don't
when
think
you
a
start
ton
a
of
show.
people are going to be talking about this. Like, oh my god, this was like,
it was
fine.
Like, I feel like they're going to talk more about the second show, which makes me think they should have put the first show as the second show, if you know what I mean. Like, make the second show the first show.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, kind of switch these spots.
Mm-hmm.
The opener was fine, not the best, and not a thrilling result for me. And honestly, when I think of an opener, I want something more exciting than this, and also not Christian Cage.
Yep.
Hopefully Christian is a transitional champion, but regardless, I think Omega should have won, because if he is a transitional champion, should have just kept it on Omega. And if he's not a transitional champion, then gross.
I get the feeling you don't like Christian Cage.
I don't. He sucks.
I feel like that's coming through.
The TNT title match was basically what I wanted and expected, but didn't seem to matter too much. The outcome was predictable, and Fuego del Sol got a contract anyways, so like it was kind of inconsequential. The main event was solid, a good win for a hometown girl. I'm interested to see, I guess, what comes with Hater Baker lines. I guess I'm not really interested at the moment, but I'm interested to see what they do with it, just because I don't really know. So we'll see what happens. Next week should be interesting with the all but announced and heavily implied debut of CM Punk. Hopefully we get a good match or two next week. I'm really hoping they kind of pick Rampage up out of the dust, because it is in the really early going, so I'll give them a chance to kind of improve it. If I had to give this a letter grade, I would also say B-. It wasn't necessarily like terrible, but it wasn't great either.
I would agree.
And it was below average AEW standards.
And at the end of the day, it's an hour, so it went by quickly.
Right. Yeah. Yep. It's weird. This used to be what NXT was. It feels like so long since NXT was this. It's really, I haven't watched like an hour-long wrestling show in forever.
It's ROH for me every week, man.
It's weird. Yeah.
All right, so are we ready to talk some Impact Wrestling?
I just have this tidbit from SmackDown. Corbin stole the Money in the Bank briefcase from Big E, so storyline for him, I guess. He had a match with Owens, he lost, and there's a stipulation if he won, he would get $1,000 from Owens. But, so, I don't know, the gimmick with Corbin, it's kind of interesting. They can spin it. I saw this really interesting, like, Bully Ray had an idea, because Kayla Braxton seems to be, like, kind of nice towards him. And so she kind of helps him out when he's in a pinch, and then he starts to take advantage of that. And then like that you could build a baby face into that role, like to face him. I thought that was an interesting idea. And so I don't know. This is kind of interesting. It's something for Corbin, and I have mixed feelings about the gimmick. Right?
I've heard mixed reviews on it. I've listened to some people that really like it, and some that are not into it at all.
I didn't like certain aspects of it, but it's kind of interesting. I don't know. This is kind of. Obviously, I'm not really watching it, but I'm still keeping tabs.
We keep up.
It should be interesting.
Yep. Okay, so some Impact Wrestling from this week. It starts out with clips from the previous night's Dynamite, where Callis calls Christian Cage a hell of a ring general. Says Kenny
Nope.
can't wait to kick out of his finisher. That was a line you liked.
Yes.
Christian talked to Tony Khan, who happened to be with Scott D'Amore, and since Kenny has more than one championship, he will be wrestling this Friday in his first match in AEW Rampage history, as we just talked about. It'll be Kenny Omega defending and losing the Impact Championship against Christian.
Right, this takes place before Rampage.
It was basically this opening segment was just one final promo for Rampage on someone else's wrestling show, which again I found kind of a strange dynamic as they're promoting the heck out of this and they're not hosting it at all.
Right.
So the opening match is Tenille Dashwood with Caleb with a K versus Taylor Wilde. So Wilde and Tenille coming into this have had issues for what seems like months because Tenille, since arriving, has been, for some unexplained reason, to be honest, desperately searching for a tag team partner. And then Wilde had just returned to Impact and was one of Tenille's targets for a partner. Then Wilde was gone for a while and citing some sort of, what did she say storyline wise? Somebody at the border stopped her or something. Anyways.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was like, and wasn't it Kelvin with a K?
Yes, that's right. It was Caleb stopped her from getting in, reporting she was suspicious or something. Anyways, she came back and has defeated Caleb since, who's now in a neck brace, and that's led us to this match. So we get holds and counters to start, with Wilde getting the better of Tenille right away. And then, good news for you, Jack, we get the return of the Dash Woogie.
Yeah.
Which is when Tenille does a noogie to her opponent in the middle of a match. And then we get some sort of sloppy lucha-style arm drag and head scissors by Wilde. And even Stryker had to, because I know I'm kind of tough on Taylor Wilde, so as my evidence, even Stryker pulled out the didn't get all of it. So that's the classic. They screwed up. Caleb tries to trip Wilde at one point. Wilde chases him around the ring. Tenille hits a neck breaker as Wilde re-enters the ring, so Tenille takes control. We get an awkward clothesline by Tenille as Wilde is coming off the ropes, and here D'Lo even says that looked jagged. So again, another kind of not so clean spot. Suplex by Tenille, and lots of heel tactics by Tenille and Caleb before a double underhook suplex to Wilde into the turnbuckles, followed by Dashwood's signature sort of corner crossbody that I think looks pretty good. Wilde fires up with a flurry, including a backbreaker that she hit to Tenille's neck by accident, and commentary point that out too. Like, it looked a little dangerous, a little bit sloppy. To finish, Wilde goes after Caleb again. She tries to rip off his neck brace, but Madison Rayne runs in, runs Wilde into the ring post, and Tenille hits her spotlight kick as commentary are confused. Tenille picks up the win here. Rayne and Tenille look at each other like the interference wasn't planned, like it's a bit of a standoff and what's going to happen, but then they laugh and they hug each other. So this match started with lots of basic offense, contained a few awkward spots that even commentary felt the need to address. Dashwood looked aggressive. Rayne's arrival was a surprise. I really don't care about it. See my earlier comments about veterans coming
when
back.
When you say Reigns, it sounds like Reigns. Like
Roman Reigns, yeah.
That's what I thought.
She's an Impact legend for sure, but I almost always prefer new talent to returning veteran talent, as I've already said in this show. Decent match, but I honestly haven't been impressed with Taylor Wilde at all, and the multiple sloppy kind of spots and basic offense in this didn't really change my mind. It got a decent amount of time by Impact standards. I thought it was just okay at best. Hype video for the Battle Royal that'll be the main event tonight. Most of the roster providing a sentence or two in their usual characters about the upcoming match. I didn't want to write a whole bunch, so it was very generic comments by, we had Callahan, Johnny Swinger, Petey Williams, Moose, Sabin, Ace Austin, Brian Myers, and a few others all think they're winning the Battle Royal, obviously. Even Swan, Eddie Edwards, Willie Mack, No Way, Sammy Callahan, and Eddie. Sorry, I already mentioned a couple of those. But they all are basically like, I'm going to win and here's why, sort of thing. So nothing fantastic.
Remind you of something?
Yes. So then we get a quick little non-title X Division match between Daivari and Josh Alexander. So Alexander, for me, is red hot as the X Division champion right now. Daivari is pretty much enhancement talent. They just kind of drag him out whenever they need a competent hand in a match. And I guess this match is just the idea as it furthers this notion that Alexander will basically fight anyone, anytime, regardless of whether it's for his title or not. So holds and counters to start this one as well. Daivari taunts Alexander with slaps to the head, and that kind of fires Alexander up, so he quickly turns the tide, and Daivari has to escape to the ropes. We get a big boot to Daivari, and Jake something wanders onto the ramp to scout his opponent for the X Division Championship because he won the next title opportunity, so he's out there to watch Alexander, I guess. Or in theory, I guess it's possible that Daivari could win, so he's scouting either of them. Sure. So the action heads to the floor. Alexander sort of looks at Jake for a minute, and that's enough to allow Daivari to take control with a drop kick before running Alexander into stuff at ringside. Alexander gets back in control later with an exploder and a counter into an ankle lock. Heel tactics by Daivari lead to him hitting a DDT, but then there's multiple Germans to Daivari, and Alexander hits his what they're calling the C4 spike, which is like the double underhook pile driver, the J Driller, for the win.
Tiger driver.
Jake comes to the ring, picks up the X Division Championship, kind of shoves it into Alexander's chest as they stand face to face before Jake just walks out of the ring. I thought the match was good. It wasn't as fast-paced as a lot of Alexander's matches, but it was still solid. I mean, possibly Daivari got a bit too much offense, even with Jake's distractions, I thought, but Alexander still ended up winning decisively, so I'm happy about that. I did think there was a slight change in Jake's character here that I liked. He seemed to have a little bit of an edge to him that I haven't really seen, and I would be interested if they're trying to turn him heel a little bit to go against Alexander. I would like to see a non-Diener heel Jake something just to see what they have with this guy. I hope these two have a really strong match because I think they're huge assets for this company going forward. These are two guys I would try and focus on just because I'm big on Impact focusing on guys that didn't make their name somewhere else, specifically WWE,
right, kind
I
of
guess.
One of their own guys.
Yeah, like you can sort of claim, even though I know Jake something's worked the indies and so's Alexander, whatever.
Like, you made him into a mainstream star,
right?
kinda.
But you can sort of claim they're yours. We then get a video about the Cage Omega Impact Championship match with various talents commenting on it. So you get Shivani doesn't see anybody defeating Kenny Omega. I would suggest he might be wrong there. Sami Callihan thinks Christian's going to win. He's probably right. Ace Austin, Madman Fulton agree it doesn't matter who will win since there'll be a target on their back. Perazzo just wants to defend her championship in AEW. JR says it doesn't matter since the title's coming back to AEW either way. Myers says the winner of the Battle Royal will bring the title home anyways. So I thought this was fine. They're just really trying hard to promote a match for their main title that's on a competitor's show. And man, has wrestling changed over the pandemic because this is not something I thought I would see.
It's crazy.
It is. The Good Brothers talk about how they're running amok, and Anderson hypes up their recent accomplishments. They beat Violent by Design at Emergence. They'll defend against Eddie and Rich Swann and Violent by Design. Violent by Design interrupt, and Eric Young says this place doesn't belong to them, it belongs to us, his standard Violent by Design promo. Gallows wants to know what combination it will be because VBD sort of wrestle under the Freebirds rules, so Gallows is trying to ascertain which two he'll be facing. He gets in Doring's face near the end of this. Gallows wants some of Joe Doring
dream match
next week, and Young says that we'll get it. Actually, I'm going to surprise you here. For a Good Brother segment, I didn't mind this. Kind of like my feelings on John Cena when the Good Brothers stopped trying to make themselves and their friends laugh, because I feel like half of their shtick is we're going to make the boys laugh. Like, we're going to pop the boys. I hate that when,
like, John Cena, he keeps, like, pulling, like, he's talking about, like, gimmicks and, like, getting over, and, like, it's just annoying because I don't really know what he's going for, but whatever he's trying to do, it's annoying.
So these guys, when they stop trying to just entertain themselves and their buddies, and they stop trying to push their merch every second they're on the screen, and they actually cut a serious promo, they do a pretty good job, and I thought this was. A Doring Gallows match doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't have me opening my wallet by any means, but it's something, I guess. So Kiera Hogan, soon to be departing Impact Wrestling, makes her way to the ring to talk about Tasha's actions last week, where Tasha turned on her, brought in a new partner to sort of replace Kiera Hogan. So Kiera Hogan's instantly baby-faced here, and she gets a baby-face reaction from the crowd for this. She says that she thought Fire and Flavor was supposed to be different, and that she's going to address Tasha directly. So she speaks directly into the camera now to Tasha. She thought Tasha was a real one and understood Hogan. Instead, Tasha got a big, goofy-ass friend to do her dirty work for her. She challenges Tasha and her new friend to come to the ring, but instead, Su Young's music hits, and she and zombie Kimber Lee come out, and Kimber gets in the ring and attacks Kiera Hogan. Hogan fights her off with a super kick, and Kiera calls on Su Young, who's still kind of up on the ramp. Su puts on her glove, and Kimber does the same behind Hogan's back. Kimber applies Su Young's hold, whatever, I don't know what, does she have a name for it?
The mandible claw?
Basically, right? Is that what they call it?
Oh, I think that's what she does. I don't know if
she does, but I don't know if she has a name for it. So anyways,
not that I know of.
Kimber applies that hold. They drag Kiera up the ramp by her hair as commentary struggle to explain what's going on. So to me, I think what they were going for here was Su Yung was kind of controlling Kimberly, much like Alexa Bliss does. You know what I mean? Like, but commentary made no mention of it and drew zero attention to it. So I could be wrong. It could just be coincidental. That being said, what a way to be written off TV if that's what this is and it's what it feels like. You were abducted by zombies and dragged out by the hair, and then there you're done with Impact Wrestling. I think. I mean, I don't think she'll be back, but we'll see.
She's abducted.
So,
Although, if Miz and Morrison have taught us anything, you could just come back next week.
Yep. So I guess they had to do something to get Hogan. I'm not sure if it was kind of short notice or they anticipated she was going to sign back or whatever, but this does get rid of her and it reintroduces the new zombie Kimberly, I guess. But I thought this was a pretty strange segment overall. Callis and Omega are backstage and they aren't happy with what's been going on. They say a lot of people are jealous, but it goes beyond jealousy when they follow them to AEW, screwing them by making them wrestle Christian for the Impact title in AEW. They're talking about skullduggery and dull scuggery, or they're starting to get their words confused. Tony Khan and Scott D'Amore have their egos bruised, but Don Callis wrote the book on machinations. So D'Amore and Khan are bringing a knife to a gunfight in this case, and Don and Kenny will have the Impact title for the rest of their lives, talking about like Kenny Omega, you'll be 80 years old and you'll still have this title. Kenny says TK, meaning Tony Khan, can buy as many big names as he needs with daddy's allowance, which I thought was funny, but he's made of different stuff. No one compares to him. This is Kenny Omega, obviously. And if Christian is the best they got, then he'll defend the belt, but he does not want to hear a peep, get it, from anyone when he wins.
Reference.
Thought this was another really good promo from these two. Just so arrogant and smug, but entertaining at the same time. A really good duo, these guys. So it's a shame that apparently they're going to be gone from Impact as of now. We get Finn Juice versus Chris Bay and Jay White of the Bullet Club. So Bay has joined Jay White in Bullet Club, apparently.
Yes.
That's what commentary told us, although I've seen some things saying he's still not officially in, so I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he is.
I think
I've
he
seen
is.
things.
And Jay White has a long-standing feud with David Finlay, with Finlay challenging for White's never openweight title at Japan's Resurgence show, I believe it's called. So
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
And in theory, this should be a really good match, as these are four pretty talented guys. So let's see. Finlay and White start out aggressively because they've got their bitter, long-standing feud. So it's a lengthy lock-up to start between those two. Finlay finally gets the advantage with a drop kick, and White rolls to the floor to sort of escape to safety. White takes control outside. Once back inside, Bay and White isolate Finlay in their corner. We get an eventual tag to Juice Robinson, who hits a big senton to Chris Bay. White distracts Juice for a second. Bay takes over, hits an elbow drop off the ropes. It's Juice's turn to be taken out on the floor, then isolated in the heel corner once back in the ring. Frequent tags and double teams by the heels as Finlay looks for a hot tag. Juice suplexes Bay, finally does make that hot tag to Finlay. Finlay hits a leaping uppercut to White, and White tags out. Basically, they're kind of delaying their confrontation, right? So White takes a little bit of offense and then tries to tag out to get away from Finlay. Bay gets hit with a spinning slam and some Finn Juice tandem offense. The finish comes when Jay White is clotheslined over the ropes to the floor. Bay goes for his art of finesse, but he gets caught and countered into a doomsday device. Robinson makes the cover, but White comes in to break up the pin with a chair attack, and Finn Juice win the match by disqualification. Finlay tries to fight White off after the match, but White throws the chair in Finlay's face, hits his Blade Runner to Finlay on a chair. I thought this was a pretty good TV tag match, but it for sure could have been better. And this was my concern, right? Bay can be in Bullet Club as long as he looks good. He didn't really get to do anything on offense here at all. Finn Juice didn't get a ton of the spots there. Part of their thing is they're really high speed and they hit a whole bunch of double team moves. That didn't really happen here either. A lot of this was one member of Finn Juice being worked over in the heel corner, which is still solid, but it's not what I was hoping for from this match. The post-match attack was fine with White coming across as a major heel, but commentary are trying a little too hard, it felt WWE, to convince us that, oh, Chris Bay is so different. I can just see a difference in him since joining Bullet Club, right? Like one of those where you're just telling us rather than showing us any evidence of this, which bugs me. Just an overall comment, dude. I know you're a big Jay White fan. He has not looked like a major star since coming to Impact, honestly. Like he's not blowing me away. And I don't know if it's his fault.
Did he hit a Blade Runner?
Or the way he hit it. He did hit it on a chair.
Well, then you've already been blown away.
But like he's not looking like a dominant force. He's looking like kind of a upper mid-card dude that
it's
needs
Scott
help.
D'Amore's fault.
I don't know. So anyways, I haven't been thoroughly impressed with his run here. Anyways, Gia Miller then interviews Tasha Steelz about what she did to Kiera Hogan last week. Steelz basically says that after a year, the heat wave was winding down, so somebody had to go, and it wasn't going to be Tasha. She needed to make some changes, and she brought the meanest, most savage person in the world, which I think might be hyperbole, in Savannah Evans.
I don't think
She's
is.
Literally.
Literally. She's speaking the truth, okay?
Hogan wanted to chat earlier, but now it looks like the problem is over, basically implying that she got dragged off by zombies, so she's gone. Fallah Bahh shows up. He needs some help against Rosemary and Havoc. If you've forgotten, Tasha and Fallah Bahh were a team in the homecoming tournament. Team Fallah and Flava, which I liked. And Bahh is looking for backup, I guess. Tasha says that she also has a problem with Decay because they're holding her tag team title, so it looks like she is in support of backing up Fallah Bahh with whatever he needs.
reunion?
So I thought Tasha did a pretty good job with what she was given here. She tried her best to explain the sudden death of Fire and Flava, but basically her reason was, we'd been together a year, it's time to move on, which isn't the most creative writing in the world. But Hogan's departure, again, might have been somewhat unexpected if they thought they could re-sign her. So I guess I give them a break for this. But honestly, this was the team for me that had maybe the best chemistry in all of this company, including the men's side. And they're just gone. And one half was abducted by zombies. And the other half is like, well, it was time to break up, so we broke up. So not the greatest explanation, but they may have been pressed for time. Yeah, I know. I like that I have to type that in my notes. One half was abducted by zombies.
That's so funny.
So Gia Miller's now talking to Melina, who never thought she would be part of something where so many promotions would be working together for something involving women's wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo interrupts because interrupting is all that Impact knows and thinks Melina's gratefulness is pathetic. Deonna says she is still training and adding new things to her game. She's been working with, again, this Invicta FC champion whose name I didn't even get, and they roll a bunch of footage of Deonna training and of the woman she's training with, and the woman she's training with saying, oh my god, Deonna's a natural, she picks all this up so quickly, etc., etc. Melina agrees, so it comes back now to the promo with Gia. Deonna basically calls herself amazing. Melina agrees with it, but that people have been trying to get rid of Melina for years. She has spoken to Impact officials, and next week Melina will have a match to show Deonna what is in store for her at Empower. I guess this was a good attempt at cross-promotion, and Deonna was great in her promo part, but the MMA-focused package that was in the middle of this did nothing for me. It feels like they really shoehorned it into this feud for some reason, and I kind of find it awkward that Deonna Purrazzo, who talks about being the greatest champion in the Virtuosa, is now like, I need to go learn more stuff.
Right.
Like, it's the opposite of what her gimmick has been. Like, I'm already way, way better than everybody. So this feels kind of forced to me. I'm not thrilled about the match either because Melina's not someone from another promotion that would be high on my list for Purrazzo, who is awesome to face. I'm not impressed with Melina in the ring at this point. So this segment, specifically the video in the middle, was too long for me. If they had just cut that out and let Deonna and Melina talk, it would have been better, I think. But I'm not an MMA guy, so I don't get any of these references, and I don't care. I don't think it's a needle mover either. Alex Marvez talks to Christian Cage. Christian admits that Kenny has a nice collection of belts going, but he'll defeat Kenny for all of those belts. Next week, Christian will be back in Impact Zone for the first time in years. That will be true.
Yay!
He talks about his history there running deep. He became a better wrestler because of his time there, etc., sort of putting over Impact and his time there. The right thing to do would be for him to take the title off Kenny and come back as the Impact World Champion.
I wonder if that will happen.
Could be. Then the winner of the Battle Royal tonight will need to deal with him. This was fine. Personally, I find Christian's promo style insincere. I've talked about it before.
I find Christian dumb.
It's his really polished, precise delivery. Almost feels like he's a politician talking. Really similar to the vibe I get from Cody Rhodes. And with both of those guys, for me personally, I'm just keenly aware that they're playing a character. And that might, I know a lot of people think they're good actors or whatever. I find the opposite. I find it's really obvious they're playing a character. But I don't know. I guess they are fine. I don't know. It's just me personally.
Like it takes you out of it, kind of.
Yeah, and that's something I find that the really great wrestlers, I believe them as their character.
Right, they kind of immerse you
or
in
the
that,
great talkers,
so to
even.
speak.
Right, so like Kingston, right? Eddie Kingston. I believe
Makes it all
everything he says.
realistic, yeah.
And then these guys, I'm like, you're playing a character right now, and I can see through it, and it bugs me a little bit.
Right.
Matt Cardona versus John Skyler, and what I assumed was going to be just an enhancement match
I
or
don't even
squash
know who
match.
John Skyler is.
He's basically an enhancement guy for them. Well, so far. So I don't know why Cardona doesn't get to bring his belt from other promotions. I guess because the door isn't open to them. But anyways.
Yeah, the door is locked. Okay.
We get an immediate drop kick by Cardona as D'Lo describes Skyler as a journeyman, which is funny because that's not really complimentary, right? So Stryker then has to sort of compensate for this and tries really hard to put Skyler over by calling him like, oh, he's the best kept secret, blah, blah, blah. So it was kind of like, and you're going to see why when we get to the end of this. We get a brief flurry by Skyler that's stopped by a Cardona boot out on the floor. Cardona's tripped off of the apron and run back first into the apron as well. We get an outside-in spear by Skyler for 2. Missile drop kick by Cardona to sort of stop Skyler's flurry. Cardona is in control, sets up for his running boot. When Rohit and Shera show up on the ramp, we get a jumping knee from Skyler and a schoolboy. And Skyler pins Matt Cardona and is the new GCW champ. No, just kidding. But he should be. So, shockingly, Skyler picks up the win here. And I like this just because it wasn't what I was expecting. And Skyler actually looked pretty good. Yes, he did definitely win by a distraction roll-up, but he got a bunch of offense in before this. Commentary let us know that Cardona is officially done with Brian Myers. So it looks like he's off to face Rohit and or Shera. I assume Rohit. That looks like where he's headed now. So a little bit of a surprise here. It's nice when you're like, oh, here's a squash match, and he actually won. So new GCW champion. You heard it here first.
Yeah, John Skyler, new champ.
Main event time.
John Skyler versus Nick Gage.
The number 1 contenders 20-man battle royal that I'm not going to get too... Actually, I do have a few notes on it, I guess. So the only people... This is a fun little game. Only people to get entrance music and entrances. Care to guess? There were 3.
Brian Myers?
No. And I know why you guessed that.
Jake something?
No. My least favorite theme.
Good Brothers?
No.
Eddie Edwards?
Eddie Edwards is correct. His main rival
Morrissey?
in life. No. Who's Eddie Edwards' bitter rival?
Sami Callihan?
Sami Callihan's one, and my boy that's facing Ishii.
Moose. Oh yeah, of course, Moose.
So those
he
three,
has to get an entrance.
I'm not even going to run down who's in the match because as I talk about eliminations,
Morrissey
you'll probably pick it up. Morrissey is in there. So
they teamed up on him.
This thing starts and Suicide is thrown out within the first minute or two by Morrissey, kind of runs him over the ropes. Morrissey then gets a bit of time to shine here. He eliminates Hernandez and somebody else I missed because they're like, that's 3, and I missed the second one, I think. So then everybody gangs up on Morrissey. He does that monster spot where he shoves them all away. Then the group kind of refocuses and rededicates themselves, and they do get Morrissey over the ropes and eliminate him pretty early. Really boring standard battle royal stuff for quite a while after Morrissey's eliminated. Petey Williams is about to hit a destroyer to Sam Beal on the apron, but Macklin, who's not involved in the match but is sort of starting a feud with Petey, he comes out, knocks Petey off the apron, so Petey's eliminated. Diener and Swan are exchanging strikes on the apron a little bit later. Swan kicks Diener to the floor, so he's out, but then Swan is eliminated next, followed by Rhino, who's thrown out by Willie Mack as they're sort of furthering the Mack, Rich Swan, Violent by Design story. That's one thing this Battle Royal I thought did a decent job of, sort of touching on a bunch of storylines that already exist. Fallah Bahh then eliminates Fulton after Fulton sacrifices himself to save Ace Austin. Moose eliminates Bahh. Myers saves Beal from elimination by Trey Miguel. Then couple of minutes later, shoves Beal into Trey, who had just climbed the top ropes, and Trey falls to the floor and is eliminated. Beal takes a vicious chop from Eddie Edwards and immediately has a handprint on his chest that looked pretty painful. Moose then eliminates Eddie Edwards. Sabin attacks Moose because they sort of have a feud going on as well. Myers, and it was weird, Myers and Beal, the match is nowhere near over. They sort of take a minute to celebrate in the middle of the ring. And then Myers obviously sneakily eliminates Beal, even though Beal is his protege. Myers is just the classic consummate heel, so he eliminates sort of his partner. Sammy sneaks up on Myers, hits a pile driver right after commentary.
Why would you eliminate Sammy first?
That's what commentary were questioning, why Myers would not keep Beal around till the end, right? Like, why would you eliminate one of your alliances in the middle of the match?
Right, you're making it harder for yourself.
Right, so kind of a mistake there. Austin ends up on Fulton's shoulders on the floor to avoid elimination, but Sammy hits a clothesline from the apron and Austin is eliminated in what was one of the bigger spots in a not very spot-filled battle royal. But Moose then quickly boots Eddie off the apron, and Eddie Edwards is eliminated as well. Moose and Sabin square off. Moose hits a huge Uranagi. Sabin and Moose seem to be the last two. That's the vibe we're supposed to get. Sabin has Moose in a sleeper hold. Moose leans against the ropes for support. Myers runs into the ring, flips both over the top to win the Battle Royal. So he did the sneaky heel, just waiting outside the ring. Nobody noticed if he was eliminated or not. That is done all the time in Royal Rumbles and Battle Royals in general. So that's what happened here. So overall, this match, I didn't think there was a lot of exciting action in the first half. It was pretty boring. Logical progression of a bunch of storylines, which I thought was a good idea. I always appreciate that effort being put into these matches. To be honest, things did pick up once there was some more space. We got some guys eliminated and the guys left could kind of work a little bit. So the final few minutes of this were pretty good. Tends
to be how it goes, right?
I was somewhat surprised by the winner. I think I had gotten spoiled on it and then forgotten.
Oh, I knew because
I know this was
a month
taped.
ago because tapings.
And I think a lot of people are going to make fun of this, but I don't have a problem with Myers winning. This is basically Impact's version of having Christian Cage face Omega. This was before I knew Omega lost, right? And that before
when I heard about this, I was confused like heel on heel.
At the time, I felt like
making sense.
This is Christian, sort of their version of Christian facing him before they decide on who they really want to face him, sort of thing. But Myers is a really strong heel for Impact. Like I've seen already people are like, oh, this is the guy that his gimmick in WWE was a giant losing streak. Well, that's great, but he's not there anymore, right? He's in a much smaller company.
He hasn't been there for like a year.
He's in a much smaller company where he's playing a different role. So he's a really good heel for them, and he's definitely capable in the ring. He's not Kenny Omega or anything, but he's a good, solid wrestler. So him winning and getting a match does not bother me at all within the context of Impact Wrestling. Overall thoughts, I didn't think this was a bad episode of Impact. But there was nothing really fantastic either. In ring, the opening Wild Tenille match did not set a good tone for the show. I didn't think it was very good. Alexander Daivari was fine. It was more about Jake, really, than Daivari. The Finn Juice Bullet Club was underwhelming, but solid Impact TV match. Cardona lost what I expected to be a squash to an unknown, so that was kind of fun. And the second half of the main event Battle Royal was entertaining, but the first half very missable. Outside the ring, Kenny and Don Callis were their usual entertaining selves. That's why it's disappointing that they're going to be gone now. The Good Brothers cut actually a serious promo that I liked. Fire and Flava stuff got resolved, but felt really rushed and a little bit cheesy and strange with the zombie abduction. The Perazo Molina segment was too long and involved cross-promotion that doesn't interest me personally at all. So I guess that all kind of adds up to a decent but not strong episode, which for me equals a B-. So that's what they're getting this week, a B-.
They did about as good as Rampage in twice the time.
Right, exactly, yes. Same result in double the time. So not the greatest week
It's the same
Impact.
result, just you're in pain longer.
That's right. So that's all I had for any other wrestling. You as well?
Yeah, and we've got our Rewind match.
Oh my goodness, I completely forgot. So no, that's not it. So let's talk about our Rewind match that we just finished before coming down here.
Rewind number 27.
Yes.
Good number.
If you say so.
Good number for me.
Right.
If you know what I mean. I chose Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan versus Undisputed Era, which is Strong and O'Reilly. For the NXT Tag Titles from TakeOver Chicago 2.
Which was a good pick because I'd forgotten about this little gem of a
I'm
match.
surprised you forgot because I remember you really liked this.
I still really liked it, not to stomp on my review, but...
So I just kind of notable / condensed notes.
It would be really hard to take detailed notes on this one because it's nonstop.
There's a lot of back and forth between Burch and O'Reilly in the early going. Burch and Lorcan suplex Strong onto O'Reilly. Corner strikes by O'Reilly, corner chops by Lorcan. Really nice, kind of flurry of, it was like a corner uppercut, a corner clothesline, and a Domagiri by Burch on Strong. Right. Which is really nice, just like a fluid motion. Burch catches a kick attempt from the apron by O'Reilly, and then while he's kind of caught that, he gets hit by a wrecking ball dropkick from Strong, so that was really nice, because he's kind of open for that. Right. Pendulum backbreaker by Strong. Elbows and knees to the midsection on a grounded Burch by O'Reilly. Dropkick by Strong for 2. Which is really nice. That's one of his specialties.
It is.
Backbreakers, chops, and dropkicks.
I did notice that O'Reilly seemed at this point to be doing a lot more MMA style stuff than he currently does. Like, he still does some, and that's kind of his angle, but I felt like there was more clear MMA stuff in his offense.
They did do a mention that too. And of course, I picked the pay-per-view where Mauro Ranallo is not on commentary.
Of course.
And it's, of course, Vic Joseph, the guy who's currently
What an upgrade.
Yes, what an upgrade. I am so sad we went from Mauro Ranallo and Nigel McGuinness to Wade Barrett and Vic Joseph. Like,
it's not great.
I don't get it.
No.
They don't make commentary teams like they used to.
Nope.
O'Reilly tags in and boots Lorcan off of the apron, but he eventually gets back up and gets a hot tag flurry. Tope con Hilo onto both members of Undisputed Era by Lorcan. A half-an-ass suplex and a really nice running uppercut for 2 by Lorcan. A double running blockbuster by Lorcan.
I loved Lorcan's hot tag in this. I thought
Lorcan
it was
and Birch
terrific.
had their assisted DDT finisher for a 2 count with O'Reilly breaking the pin last minute. They set up for a Doomsday device, but O'Reilly shoves Lorcan off and he just lands on the apron.
Hard, man.
It was
I
awesome.
gasped on that one, yeah.
It was awesome. Strike combo by O'Reilly. A brainbuster by O'Reilly with like kind of a rollover into the pin. It looks really nice. I like the motion too. He hits like the brainbuster and kind of just like rolls over into the pin. It's a really nice motion. He transitions right into an armbar off of the kick out. Birch is able to get a rope break though. A double blockbuster on the floor off of the apron by Lorcan, which is pretty cool because that's him just splatting on the floor basically. An uppercut Doomsday device by Lorcan and Birch for near fall with Cole having to pull O'Reilly out.
That was a good near fall too.
Yeah, it was. It was a really cool move too. And Cole gets ejected with the crowd actually booing.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of cheering Undisputed Era throughout the match.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
They were cool heels, right? So they kind of got a bit of that.
Powerbomb by Lorcan for 2, kind of a stack powerbomb. Lorcan transitions into a half crab off of the kick out. That is a move that's in 2K. It's like one of those OMG finishers. You can do powerbomb. At the kick out, you transition to a Boston crab.
Nice.
So this is a half crab. Birch applies a crossface to O'Reilly at the same time, and O'Reilly kind of rolls over and then kicks Lorcan off of Strong at the same time. It kind of eventually results once they all get up into a strike brawl. Strong and O'Reilly hit Lorcan with a bunch of strikes. There was one where like O'Reilly hits like his axe kick and then spins around and hits a forearm, but Strong hits a knee at the exact same time.
Looks good.
And then they hit Total Elimination, which is that leg sweep kind of lariat combo for the win. And the Spear retain. And I thought this was like, it was a masterclass of a tag match. Like, it was just all over the place, and they really didn't let up. There wasn't really anything like lulls.
Not at all.
Usually when there's a hot take, it's like there's just like it's like a wrestle or something. But like even when the hot take came in, like there's no real lulls in the action. It was so fast and the strikes were just so crisp. Like it was really good. I think these teams just had really good chemistry and they hit a lot of good stuff. It took a barrage of offense to keep Lorcan down, which I think that's good for them. Like it's good luck. It was a perfect example of what made takeover shows so great. Like, this is, like, the kind of matches you would get.
And none of these 4 guys would catch Vince's eye at all.
They just don't make them like they used to. I believe this was the opener for the show, which that just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think it was,
a perfect opener.
Yep.
It was as good as I remember. This was Undisputed Era kind of at the peak of their powers, at least in the tag division. Like, this was a good era for Undisputed Era, like the Strong and O'Reilly era. Like, they had the match with Mustache Mountain too. Like, this was a good time for them. If I had to give it a letter grade, I would honestly give it an A-. It was entertaining throughout. I can't really find a single issue with it. It was even ideal time, like just under 20 minutes. Like, it was quite flawless, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, a couple things I noticed was, one, what was with the crowd being like dark? Did you notice that?
Like the
you
lighting?
could really only see like the first couple rows, and then there was no lights on the rest. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, they make the Trons black with just the logo.
Right.
They used to do that. Yeah.
I also like that after the match, Undisputed Era sort of left the ring with their championships, and Lorcan and Birch were left standing there, and the crowd gave them a really nice ovation.
It's kind of like one of those moments that would make you think that they're leaving, but like...
Yeah, it was just like they appreciate... Because they're underappreciated. Like, one of my things was like, tons of talent between these 4, but not a ton of personality, right? Like, this is where they really shine in ring.
It was the perfect... Like, you didn't really need personality here, right?
No. So I had forgotten how much I enjoyed this match. The pace that these guys worked at without making mistakes was pretty ridiculous if you watch this. There were no lulls, as you said. The pace like starts out quick and then only increases somehow as it goes on, right? The only real break these guys got for like a few seconds was when Cole was being sent away by the referee, right? That was really, there were no rest holds, there was no nothing. Like, maybe took, 45 seconds?
Right, and it's not surprising from Strong, because he's known as one of those, like, stamina guys. Right. But, like, yeah, all of them, they really didn't get a break.
The crowd was somewhat quiet to start, but by the end, like, these 4 guys just grabbed this crowd.
Once they get into it, they get into it. Like, NXT crowds, like, they were awesome back in the day on takeovers. Like, once the match gets good, like, they're there, you know?
I think these guys just forced them to get into this match because there was so much going on all the time here. I think Oney Lorcan really shined in this one, and he is underrated. Like, there's not much you can do with them character-wise or speaking-wise, but if you can
just throw him in a good match,
get him somewhere in the ring and let him run around, his hot tag and his just general speed, and it's like he looks reckless, but it's under control somehow, right?
Like when he charges at them with an uppercut, he really goes into it.
And it's crazy to me to think that this is a style of wrestling and the size of wrestler Vince doesn't want, because this is exactly what I want.
It's just so good.
It's felt like something you would currently find on AEW and not in NXT. Unfortunately, there's been sort of a shift. Fantastic match. Really highlights the ability of Lorcan and Burch, in my opinion. Kind of underrated guys. Everyone knows that the Undisputed members can all wrestle, but Lorcan and Burch really shined here as well.
Yeah, this is a rare
Lorcan.
showcase for them.
I would recommend this to anyone. I pretty much loved it, and so I was like you. I was like, this is an A-, and then I went, wait, why? What am I complaining about? Like, what did I not like? And then I was like, nothing. So I actually gave it an A. I just think that it's like bell to bell, 18 minutes of like non-stop action, no mistakes, and just a really awesome match to watch. So I would highly recommend this for anyone who likes tag team wrestling and like just speed in their wrestling.
Yes.
So that's it for any other wrestling business.
And figuring out is empty, so
we have nothing. So we get a pause on figuring it out. We'll be back for that next week.
Hopefully we get something.
No new releases or anything this week, so we'll just park that, as they say, until next week.
I have a feeling it'll be a long episode anyway, so a bit of a time saver for y'all.
We're at 3 hours and 23 minutes, so yes, it is long. But
we're kicking Raw's butt.
We will say that is where we're going to wrap up this episode. So we are thinking about putting out a SummerSlam and TakeOver preview episode. We'll see if we get around to that.
Either put that on the main show or do a separate one.
I would say separate.
We'll try to. I will at least want to review TakeOver, and we'll see about SummerSlam.
We'll for sure review TakeOver, possibly SummerSlam, but we'll definitely be back here for episode 57 next Saturday. So we look forward to seeing you all back here for that. And until then, take care.